a special meeting of the Salem Housing Authority for April 28th to order. If the recorder would please call the roll.
Commissioner Tessler?
Present.
Commissioner Nanke?
Here.
Commissioner Clausen?
Here.
Commissioner Dickey?
She's here.
Commissioner Benars?
Here.
Commissioner Clem?
Here.
Commissioner Hine? And Chair Bennett?
Here. Okay, if you'll join me for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Commissioner Nanke.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I would move approval of the special meeting agenda for Salem Housing Authority on April 28, 2014.
Second.
Second by Tessler. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Do we have any public comment? No. Is there anyone who would like to address the Housing Authority? Okay. Councilor Nanke.
Yes, in regards to action item 4A, I would move staff recommendation in the issue regarding facilitating the sale and provide financing for the acquisition and rehabilitation of the Robert Lindsay Tower, Parkway East and Parkway West. Second.
Second by Clem. Is there any discussion? Do you guys want to, anyone want to talk about this? Mr. Rux, you have that.
I will defer to Mr. Welch.
Okay. All right. No further comment. All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
All opposed. Motion passes. Commissioner Nanke.
Yes, in regards to action item 4B, which is approved bond issuance of fund renovation of Parkway East and Robert Lindsay Tower, I would move staff recommendation.
Second.
Any discussion, questions? Mr. Welch, anything?
No, thank you.
Okay. All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passed.
Mr. Chair, can I ask a question? Member Nanke, did you, or Commissioner Nanke, did you include number 2 in your motion?
Number 2.
He moved the recommended action by the
To
staff.
facilitate the Parkway West.
Item number 2.
You have recommended action 1 and 2.
I only
thought your
show
motion included both.
4A. I have no 1 or 2 off the website.
Okay, so if you read the general statement, I think we're okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, well, we'll just understand that that was approval of 1 and 2. Okay?
Oh,
All right.
sorry, I moved down. Never mind.
Okay.
Yes,
Okay,
it was just recommended, or staff recommendation.
great. Thank you.
There's no further business. The Housing Authority is adjourned.
Agenda down there in the middle. It's like there's only one thing.
All right, we'll call to order this evening's special meeting of the Urban Renewal Agency for the City of Salem for April 28, 2014. Would the recorder please call the roll?
Board Member Bennett?
Here.
Board Member Tessler?
Present.
Board Member Nanke?
Here.
Board Member Clausen?
Here.
Board Member Dickey?
Here.
Board Member Benars?
Here.
Board Member Clem?
Here.
And Chair Peterson?
Here. Thank you. We need approval of the special meeting agenda. Member Bennett?
Madam Mayor, I move approval of the special meeting agenda.
Second.
It's been moved by Member Bennett and seconded by Member Benars to approve the special meeting agenda. Is there any discussion? You have it in front of you.
I'm just curious if that includes additions.
Sorry.
All right.
Why
Are
don't
there
we just go back a
additions?
minute? Madam Mayor, let me move the special meeting agenda with additions, deletions, and revisions.
All right. Fine. The motion as amended. First and seconded. All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, say nay. Motion carries. Thank you. Okay. It's time for public comment. Do we have anyone signed up for public comment? It's okay. Oh, all right. Is there anyone here present who wanted to sign up and wasn't able to do so? All right, we'll move ahead to action items. Member Bennett, can you please introduce action items?
Yes, Madam Mayor, I move action item 4A, the fiscal year Urban Renewal Agency budget calendar.
And is there a second?
Second.
It's been moved by Member Bennett and seconded by Member Dickey. Is there discussion? All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, say nay. Motion carries. Thank you. And Member Bennett, item B.
Madam Mayor, I move item 4B, which is replacement of the West Salem Toolbox Exterior Grant Program with the West Salem Urban Renewal Area Redevelopment Grant Program.
Second.
It's been moved by Member Bennett and seconded by Member Benars to accept the action item 4B. Is there discussion? Member Clem.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. The redevelopments in West Salem, particularly in the Edgewater 2nd Street area, have just really been exciting for a lot of the citizens. Get more and more questions about what's going on down there. This is a perfect example of urban renewal dollars helping to leverage greater property values and greater economic activity. With this renaming of this, with this item, I think providing grant money where it can really leverage larger projects, and not larger in terms of big stores, but that isn't what I mean, but in fact, property values that will attract, or properties that will attract more retail, more shopping in West Salem, more jobs in West Salem. So I'm very thankful for the Urban Renewal Agency board members, particularly now that he's on council, Councilor Bednarz, for, this really started about 2 years ago, and so we're looking forward to everybody knowing that we have a lot of opportunities to create more shopping, more jobs in the Edgewater 2nd Street area. So wanted to make sure the public knew that that was a big piece of what we're doing, or want to do.
Great. Councilor Benars and then Councilor Nanke.
I want to thank Councilor Clem for his great comments. I was chair of the West Salem Redevelopment Advisory Board when a lot of this was going through, and saw time and again where money spent in the toolbox was well worth and leveraged big time to do redevelopments of different properties on the Edgewater 2nd Street corridor. And we've seen some places that have been abandoned that were very derelict, in fact posted as derelict buildings, now being rehabilitated with new windows, exterior are being refinished. We've had a whole bunch of those going up and down the street. So I'm really pleased to see this and the continuation.
Great. Thank you. Councilor Nanke.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Question on the intent. The way I read this, it says that this new grant program can only be used if the improvements increase the building size and utilities. Is that an accurate statement?
Doug Rux, Assistant Director, Urban Development. Yes, that is an accurate statement. So what this program is doing is it's taking where we have the current maximum $20,000 grant, and as Member Clem had indicated, is looking at investments that actually create new value. So this is structured to promote additions onto existing buildings and or redevelopment, new construction. So it could be a tear down of an older building that's seen its useful life come and go, and building something new. Where the old program, the one that's in place, you can do a lot with painting and awnings and windows. But that does really drive the tax increment that creates more dollars, that increases the value in the property to do more rehabilitation on projects or properties in
And we
West
have
Salem.
people who actually want to do this, which
Yes.
is why we're moving it up. Okay.
Thank you very much for those comments. I, too, would like to make a few comments, and mine are in praise of the staff work that's gone into this, and also to the members of the board, the advisory board for the West Salem Urban Development Area, have worked diligently and long and hard, and I'm very pleased with the final product, because it is going to ensure that we have more leveraged investment in West Salem, and that's going to be good for all of the property owners actually in that area. So I'm very pleased about that. All right, we have a motion on the floor. All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, say nay. Motion carries. Thank you. There are information reports in your council agenda. I draw your attention to that. Were there any questions regarding the reports that are in our binder? Member Bennett.
Yes, Madam Mayor, if I may, I'd like to go back to the added item 4C, the action item 4C.
Oh, sorry.
No, that's okay.
Thank you.
Madam Mayor, I move the agency authorize the executive director or designee to execute an amended and restated home loan agreement with the Housing Authority of City of Salem and execute a reconveyance of a trust deed securing the home loan.
Thank you. It's been moved by Member Bennett and seconded by, who seconded? By Member Nanke to accept the modifications to the home loan agreement to the Housing Authority of the City of Salem. Is there discussion? Member Clausen, thank you.
Whatever we're called right now.
Whatever we're called at this meeting.
Madam Mayor, I actually just had like 5 seconds to glance at that. Would it be okay if I asked staff to give a short synopsis
Certainly.
of what this is?
Certainly. Yes.
I think I can address that.
Oh, okay.
Dan Atchison, City Attorney. As part of the Housing Authority's financing of the Parkway renovation and RLT renovation, there is an existing loan from the Urban Renewal Agency to the Housing Authority that actually was part of originally acquiring the Parkway property. In order to bring in the new financing package and have a new investor come in, Enterprise Investment Solutions, to come in to finance the new renovation of Parkway, we need to remove basically the deed of trust from the title, so it won't be encumbered by the deed of trust and their investment will be secure. The Housing Authority will continue to be responsible to make payments on the loan back to the agency. It was an original $191,000 no interest loan, but it was installment payments of about $530 a month. The authority will continue to make those payments back to the Urban Renewal Agency, but it just won't be secured by a deed of trust anymore.
Okay, so we're not necessarily transferring it to the new LLC organization that is...
Right. The new ownership entity will not be obligated under the loan, although the Housing Authority, which is the general partner of that
Right.
entity, will be.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Any further questions? All right. We'll call for the question. All those in favor of the motion to modify the home loan agreement to the Housing Authority for the City of Salem signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, say nay. Motion carries unanimously. Thank you. Now we will go to item 5, information reports. Are there any questions about the 2 information reports in your council agenda? All right, seeing none. Our next item is simply to adjourn this meeting. Thank you. And we'll wait a moment and begin our full council meeting.
She goes by Yankee, sometimes she goes by Queen Yankee, I do this other time. That's what, that's her official name is, she's Queen. Oh, really? So she's got like 4 aliases depending. Quite high from there. Yeah.
I didn't even think about it. I got married. I didn't. We did too. Well, we didn't talk about it. I didn't think about it. I guess.
So we had.
Yeah. Give me a ticket as well.
I got married. I didn't marry. Just see my dad.
We bought 2 sets of one big piece. No, we had 2 big ones and 1 small one. We did 2 ones on the farm. And then the small ones.
Hi, Raymond, Dan, Fred Meyer.
No, I can. We brought back 9 bottles.
That's part of the.
There you go. My wife loved this one. She moved to his wife. The older two These are all Series 6, and then the M3 is 18. And then see, we were also
Tell what color the eyes are on it.
Okay.
Are you like?
All right, I'm going to call to order this evening's meeting of the Salem City Council for April 28th, 2014. Would the recorder please call the roll?
Counselor Bennett?
Here.
Counselor Tessler?
Present.
Counselor Nanki?
Here.
Counselor Clausen?
Here.
Counselor Dickey?
Here.
Counselor Benars?
Here.
Counselor Clem?
Here.
And Mayor Peterson?
Here, thank you. We need approval for the additions and deletions to the agenda. Counselor Bennett?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I move approval of additions and deletions to the agenda and call everyone's attention. You have two sets. Okay?
Second.
It's been moved by Counselor Bennett and seconded by Counselor Benars to approve the additions, deletions, and revisions to the agenda. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, say nay. Motion carries. Thank you. It's time now for council and city manager comment. Do councilors have any comments this evening? Everyone is quiet tonight. We've been so busy talking before the meeting. Okay, and our city manager is indicating she has no comment. And we're going to move on to proclamations and presentations. We have a proclamation this evening for Lemonade Day. Now, I know that I have someone here in the audience ready to do this. And turn this on. Chip Conrad has been with us in the past to talk about Lemonade Day. Please come down. Yes, right down here in front of everybody. Nice to see you again, Chip. Thank you. Where's Mr. Lemonhead?
Well, you know, he was busy tonight doing another event, so...
He's in high demand.
Yes, yes, he's very popular these days.
He is a popular fellow. He's been here a couple of times, so I'm glad you're here to accept this proclamation. And we're happy to do this proclamation. I know that the whole project has become quite a popular one in our community, and I'm glad for that because it's a good way for children to learn about having a business. So I'm going to read the proclamation and present it to you and then ask you to say a couple words. Okay. Whereas Lemonade Day is a nationwide youth entrepreneurial program engaging 200,000 children and teens. Whereas the objective of Lemonade Day is to empower youth to take ownership of their lives and become productive members of society. Whereas children and youth are an integral part of the community, strengthening our neighborhoods as they achieve. Whereas local mentors, including parents, teachers, business owners, and other caring community members, walk our youth through business plan development, and whereas Salem is the first city in the state of Oregon to ever hold a Lemonade Day. Now, therefore, I, Anna Peterson, Mayor Salem, do recognize Chip Conrad, Executive Director of the Center for Entrepreneurial Education and Development, for launching Lemonade Day in Oregon's capital city by proclaiming Sunday, May 4th, 2014 as Lemonade Day in the city of Salem. And I call upon all citizens to recognize our young entrepreneurs through patronage of lemonade stands throughout our community on this important day. And I signed this on today, the 28th day of April, 2014. So congratulations to Mr. Conrad, because you pulled together quite an amazing event that's coming up on Sunday. Would you like to talk about this a little bit?
Yeah, sure. Actually, we're the only town in the Northwest to have a Lemonade Day. National came out. When you buy into this franchise, you decide you want to do this, they come out and they tell you how many kids you should plan on, and they gave us a top-end goal of 400 participants. And I'm happy to say that right now, with one more week till the event, we sit at 996 kids participating in this event. Yes. That's you guys, that city staff all the way down. Thank you guys very much for all that you've done. Brady Rogers and Lori Shaw, thank you so much for the hard work you put in to make it happen. And of course you, Madam Mayor.
Well, we're very pleased about this, and I'd like to present the proclamation to you. You may share that with Mr. Lemonhead, and encourage him to come and visit us again at another Lemonade Day, okay?
Sounds good.
Thank you, Chip. Best of luck this weekend. Thank you. We're always known as the Cherry City. We may start to become known as the Lemon City. I'm not sure.
It's a little harder to market.
It's a little harder to market. Okay. All right. Okay, back to business. We do have a time this evening also for public comment during our regular city council meeting. Do we have anyone signed up today for public comment?
Madam Mayor?
Yep. Yeah.
Oh, indeed, we do have. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to just skip right over that after we even talked about it. Councillor Dickey has a presentation and a group to introduce. Please. Yeah. Yes. There you are. It's on.
Thank you, Mayor. So what we have today is a group of students from Mr. Timberg's AVID class at Stevens Middle School, and I had the privilege of talking to them a few months ago. They're going through a curriculum on learning how to create public policy and civic engagement. Mr. Timberg will talk a little bit about that in a minute. And so they wanted to, they've been working through a project over the last few months, and they wanted to come and be able to present what they've learned. I know they'll have an opportunity to present it at the Capitol, but I thought this would be a great place for them to come and show what they've done. They're very excited about learning about civic engagement. So I'm going to turn it over to Mr. Timberg, and can tell us about your project and have your students do their presentation.
Thank you, Councilwoman Dickey. Thank you, Council. My name is John Chinberg,
It will spell ocean pollution if we do this right. Let's see if we can, connect the dots.
All right.
Here we go. And we have a little clip back here. In our dress rehearsal, we had this thing put together in 30 seconds. I'm going to take just a moment while they're setting up the display and let you know that we've been working through a curriculum called Project Citizen. Project Citizen takes the students through a multi-step, group-oriented collaboration whereby they identify a problem in their community, they look at alternative solutions to it, they develop a proposal, and then they develop an action plan. So we have done research on this, including survey information that they'll be sharing today. And as you can tell here, let's move this over just a little bit, that the topic that they chose, the community problem they choose to address, is ocean pollution. And with that, I'd like to introduce to you, here we go. This is Solbert, this is Anthony, this is Nazmati, this is Jackie, this is Abby, and this is Jeter. So they're going to take it away.
A young man is walking along the ocean, sees a beach on which thousands and thousands of starfish have washed ashore. Further along, he sees an old man walking slowly and stooping often, picking up one starfish after another and tossing each one gently into the ocean. "Why are you throwing the starfish into the ocean?" he asked. "Because the sun is out and the tide is going out, and if I do not throw them further, they will die." "But old man, don't you realize there are miles and miles of beach and starfish all along it? You can't possibly save them all. You can't even save 1/10 of them. Even if you work all day, your efforts won't make any difference at all." The old man listened calmly and then bent down to pick up another starfish and throw it into the sea. It made a difference to that one.
Thank you, City Council and Mayor, for having us today. We are Average 7 from Adam Stevens Middle School. We're going to be talking about a problem that affects us locally and globally. That problem is ocean pollution. Our solution to this is a ban on single-use plastic bags.
First, we're going to be informing you about plastic bags. Then we're going to talk to you about the Great Pacific Gyre. Finally, we're going to share with you our survey data we gathered.
The Pacific Gyre is a huge pile of trash and plastic in the ocean. There are mammals and fish and turtles in the plastic or garbage. There are 100 million tons of plastic in the ocean. Plastic bags can get thrown away in the sewers, in the rivers, and the oceans.
Many people did not know anything about the Great Pacific Gyre. According to our survey, 69% of the people we surveyed didn't know anything. 90% of the people surveyed would support a ban on plastic bags.
Although some people agree with us, others oppose us. Some people argue that replacements for plastic bags, such as paper bags, will cost extra to produce. However, if stores charge 10 cents per paper bag, stores will have more than enough to cover the cost for those replacements. And if people don't want to pay the price for each paper bag they use, they can simply buy a cloth bag to use at their grocery stores. Also, another argument that people have is that stores outside the city limits might not obey this policy. However, is that going to stop us from trying to propose this policy? Jeff Olvin, the manager at Hazel Ross, he told us that his store would support the ban on plastic bags. Would support the ban on plastic bags even if the store is outside the city limits.
We hope that you take our proposal under consideration. Like Anthony said, anything we do is going to make a difference, just like it did to the starfish. On behalf of our class and potentially thousands of sea creatures, we thank you for your consideration. Any questions?
Thank you.
Okay, now we have people who have signed up to speak this evening under public comment. As I call your name, you can choose either podium. Josh Parker, followed by Margot Lucas. And as you introduce yourself, and please state your address or ward and speak into the microphone clearly. When the amber light comes on, you're 2 minutes, and that's the end of 3 minutes is the red light.
Got it. Thank you.
Welcome.
My name's Josh Parker, 1070 Crescent Drive, Northwest, Salem. There we go. So ready now?
Yes,
Okay.
certainly.
Thanks. Sorry. So a little background on me. I own Coffee in Motion. A few were around 11 years ago when I put that bus in, and that was fun, interesting times. So I know Yankee got some calls in the middle of the night, I think, and so that was great. Anyway, y'all remember my fight to stay open, and I appreciate you guys helping me out, working with me, and that's a great thing the city should do, I think, is work with businesses to help them prosper and thrive, you know? So you guys did a great job there. I really appreciate that. Now I own a trailer I do events with. I just opened a cart in the Woodburn Outlets. It's a mobile cart, permanent basically, but mobile, obviously. The water and sewer there is extremely expensive to put in there, so I couldn't open it there for more than 6 months if they had the same rules that we have here in Salem. So I can because they don't have those restrictions. So it's pretty cool. There's no coffee shop there right now. So it helps out them, it helps out me. I've got 3 full-time employees up there right now. So I have obviously employees at the bus. I started out as a mobile food cart, became a permanent building. So now I have, I create jobs. I'm able to do a lot of events. I do some charity stuff. I do some work with, nonprofits as well. So let's look at the pros for changing the rules on mobile food carts. And first of all, mobile food carts are health inspected, so that's very important. That's the biggest thing, in my opinion, for a mobile food cart is to be health inspected, make sure it's up to code. So for people's safety, of course. The benefits for business owners that open a food cart, relatively low startup cost. Your lease is a lot lower typically. You have shorter term leases as well, so if it doesn't work out as well, you're not stuck in a long-term lease and maybe go bankrupt or what have you. So, because businesses bankrupt people all the time. They bring diversity to the local food scene. People can try out new things with a mobile food cart relatively inexpensively. There are numerous, there's lots of reasons to have, make food carts legal or make it easier for food carts to operate in the city of Salem. And if you ask, I think anybody in Salem I think if you ask anybody in Salem, they'd say, why not make it easier for anybody to start a business in Salem, no matter if it's food carts or whatever kind of business it is. So basically, bottom line is we need that to happen. It creates jobs and it makes it easier for entrepreneurs to start up. So there you go.
Thank you. We appreciate your testimony. Before you leave the podium, does anyone have any questions? All right, thank you very much.
Thanks,
Appreciate you coming down and your testimony. Margot Lucas, followed by Chad Freeman.
Good evening.
Welcome.
I'm Margot Lucas, representing the Salem Cannabis Industry Association. We have on the agenda tonight the moratorium that's going to be voted on. I've spoken to many of you about the issues we're having with the state in issuing the licenses and the holdup that we've had there. Many of you know that we have asked for some amendments to be made. I just wanted to ask once again, is there any support for the amendments? I guess not. In light of that, we would ask that we look forward to working with you on the rules and regulations, and we would like to see those get done as soon as possible so that some of the people that are going to be affected by this moratorium can run their businesses legally in the city. Thank you.
All right, are there questions? Please stay at the podium. I think we've got a couple of questions. Yes, Councillor Bennett.
Thank you. Margot, thank you for coming down. Could you, how many applicants were there for the licenses, and how many have cleared for opening under the so-called moratorium?
I believe at this time there is 259.
In Salem is all I.
Oh, okay, sorry.
Yeah, sorry.
In Salem.
You caught a lot of people's attention with that.
Question. I'm sorry.
No, how many of the dispensaries applied for the health authority certificate, and how many have them?
Have received it?
Have received them, and will not be initially affected by this moratorium?
I believe, standing here right now, that number is 8.
8 applied, 8 have been approved?
That's correct.
Okay. So everyone who applied has been approved?
No. Oh, I'm sorry. I don't know for sure the number that have applied, because there may be other applicants that we're not aware of that have not appeared yet. But we have, we had altogether, I believe it was going to be 9 applicants. Because we had some other, we gave you the list that we went over, and there were 3 that were unknown status, and we've done some checking on those, and I don't believe those will be coming online. There may be 1 unknown applicant, so that would make 10. But there's 8 that have been approved.
Okay, thank you.
And could I ask one more question too? Because we had spoke earlier about the moratorium, the way it's going to be voted on.
Actually, no, you're
okay.
Not able to ask further questions. They can ask questions of you, however.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Okay. Are there any questions, further questions by councilors? All right. Seeing none, thank you very much. We appreciate your
Thank you.
testimony. Chad Freeman, followed by Min Nudian? Win Nudian? Min, thank you. Okay. Mr. Freeman, welcome.
Thank you. Thanks for the opportunity. First of all, for the record, my name is Chad Freeman. I'm the president of SEDCOR, the regional economic development entity that leads economic development efforts here in Marion and Polk County. First of all, as I get started, I'd like to formally take this opportunity to thank the council as well as the mayor for long-term support that we've had. I recognize we've had a long, productive relationship over 30-some years, I believe now, and really that our focus has been around how to add jobs, really create wealth and support for members of our community. And in that endeavor, in the last year, working together, we've worked with private companies doing over $64 million of investment, creating over 800 new and retained jobs over 2013, and building on that to over $90 million in the next 2 years. So I think that's really a testament to where we stand and the partnership and the collaboration that we've been able to forge. With that, we're looking at with its agenda item 7G. in your packets that we brought together and had an opportunity, and borrowing on the mayor's tagline of working in collaboration, worked with the state, Mid-Willamette Valley Council of Governments, Oregon Manufacturing Extension Partnership, as well as job growers to apply for a federal grant of over $2 million to bring economic development resources to the community. These communities include new support for on-the-job training, company training, particularly allocation for lean training with companies, as well as economic development. In working for this grant, we applied for it as we felt like it fit directly into our wheelhouse in terms of what we do. And what we do is work directly with existing companies to try to help them to add jobs within our region. This grant was, on the federal level, was specified in terms of how to help bring manufacturing jobs and how to grow those jobs here within our region, and obviously at the federal level within the U.S., but more specifically for us within our region. We took the economic development region support, and for that we took work in 3 main categories. The first of which was supply chain research, working to try to understand better who in this region, who our manufacturers are, what they need, and what gaps in their supply chain exist. Secondly, how to make direct connection with those local companies in the 3-county region. That is, once we understand who they are, how do we help them add 1 job or 5 jobs or 10 jobs to help grow our regional economy? And then to create a supportive environment for these manufacturing firms by connecting them, to the resources, but also to the group, the ecosystem that's here to try to help keep those manufacturing resources going. So this grant that we put together and worked with in concert really helps the Mid-Willamette Valley directly by it increases collaboration directly within the region. It helps us at SEDCOR add capacity and resources, both at SEDCOR and with our partnerships, including the City of Salem. It increases our understanding of the manufacturing ecosystem as well as the supply chain in the region. And most importantly, and really what our key metric is, it helps us grow jobs in the region and here within Salem.
Thank you very much. We appreciate your testimony and your work. Were there any questions from counselors? I'd like to add my comment to your comments, Mr. Freeman, that we so appreciate the efforts of SEDCOR and the SEDCOR Board of Directors as well. It's truly an example of what I call the collaboration capital, when we're all able to work together and pull together for something as vitally important as our economic development. So thank you so much for the work that you've been doing.
Well, thank you.
We wish you all the best of luck with this grant and with the work ahead.
Thank you.
Okay, thanks so much. All right, Mr. Nudian and Richard Foote.
Hi, my name is Min Nguyen, and my wife and I just opened up a fusion food truck 6 months ago. And I'm just here to support for, hopefully get the support of the changes that needs to be put on. Because we have a truck that we move around a lot, which we're not based in one location for a long period of time. So the rules that restricts our business from being able to conduct business properly, the 2-hour rules that we believe that should be changed, because right now, in order for us to set up and everything and get the food out, by the time we get set up, our 2 hours is up. So like we have like 5-6 different locations we move around to every day or every week. So we're not, like I said, we're not like based in one location for a long period of time. So
Yes. Okay. Sorry. No, I'm sorry. I apologize.
I'm just here to support for the changes that's coming up.
Okay, thank you. I think we might have some questions from counselors. We appreciate your testimony and you taking time to come down tonight. Are there some questions from counselors? Counselor Bennett?
Yes, thank you. The 2-hour rule, what is that 2-hour rule? That's new to me.
Could staff perhaps answer that?
Yes, Mr. Rogers or Mr. Gross?
Yes. Glenn Gross, the Community Development Director. I believe the gentleman is referring to a provision in the code that allows food trucks to go to a site and be there for the lunch hour or something like that. Those are not considered mobile food units and under our code and the way we apply the code. Mobile food units, as you know, are restricted to one location for a maximum of 6 months at a time, no more than one per site, and they have to be separated by a certain distance. If it's a lunch wagon or food truck sort of situation, we allow those to visit a company, a factory, a plant, or whatever, for up to, I believe it's up to 2 hours. And they're not required to get a mobile food unit license. They're just considered a food vendor, essentially. So I believe that's what he's talking about.
Is the 2 hours in the code?
Yes, I'm looking at Aaron Panko, who's been doing the research on this, and he's telling me that it is. I could have Aaron come up and talk more about it if you'd like.
We're under questions.
Sorry. Yeah, we'll wait for them in a minute, but where are you located now? If I want to come have lunch, where are you?
Right now, we move from tap house to breweries to tap houses throughout the week, so we're at a different location every day. Most
Where
of
will
our
you be tomorrow?
Tomorrow we'll be at B Square Tap House.
Okay.
And then usually we're there Tuesday and Wednesday, and then Thursday we move to a different location.
What's the next location?
Sandy Ann Brewers.
Okay.
Oh, that's a good post.
And then on Friday.
Yeah, I mean, take advantage of this.
And on Friday, we go to Vagabond Friday and Saturday. Brewer, the new breweries on Hyacinth over there.
Uh-huh.
But, so, I mean, we're there to serve our truck. We cook our food fresh, so we don't have a holding area. We don't keep food on warm or anything. So when we get to location, we cook all our food fresh to order. So it's not like a food truck where you go and you have all this food made and you just pass it out the window. We actually just kind of like a restaurant situation where we cook our food to order.
Sounds great. Thank you. Maybe we can get this fixed for you.
That'll be wonderful.
I have a question for you. It sounds like the 2-hour constraint is why you probably are here tonight to speak. Could you suggest to us, is 3 hours more appropriate with the type of business that you have?
Well, the type of business we have, I think I don't believe there should be a time limit for us to be there. Because like at tap houses and stuff, they would like us to be there like for most of the day or all day long.
Oh, I see, okay. So it isn't just the necessary time to prepare the food and sell the food that you need the window of operation for. It's a longer period of time during the day just to be able to sell food throughout the day?
Yes.
I
yes,
see, okay.
yes.
All right, were there other questions? Councilor Clem and then Councilor Nanki.
I believe Councilor Nanki had his hand up earlier. Do you want to go ahead? Thank you, Madam Mayor. Are you subject to health inspections now? And if we create a code that subjects you to them?
Yes, we are. We are licensed with the Marion County.
Okay.
And then they do come and inspect us twice a year, I believe.
Well, just under the current code, we got to come find you somewhere. But
yeah.
This will provide more certainty to.
Yeah, they follow us on Facebook because usually we tweet and Facebook our location every time we move. So they follow us on Facebook and whenever they.
Really?
All right. Councilor Nanki?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Can you describe your vehicle?
It's it's kind of like a bread truck, but it's been converted into a kitchen.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like a big bread truck.
Okay, yeah.
pretty much.
But it's not the little pickup that you open the back up and people come out and buy a sandwich.
No.
Which I think is what the 2-hour rule is. Am I correct that he is not subject to the 2-hour rule?
Under our code, he would, because our code is fairly limited in how it's structured, he would fall into that category by default because there's no other place to put him, unless he's a mobile food unit, in which case he's located in one place for up to 6 months.
If he doesn't choose to stay somewhere,
Yeah.
he's restricted to a 2-hour, he can be
That's
anywhere.
basically the only other thing we have in the code to deal with it, yeah.
Yeah, and, yeah, we can have that change coming up.
Okay, any other questions for this gentleman? All right, thank you. We really appreciate you coming tonight and appreciate your work in our community.
Well, thank you very much.
Thank you. All right, Richard Foote. Hello.
Mayor, hello, how are you?
Nice to see you. Thanks for coming.
I have a copy. Don't be alarmed, this is not my entire 3 minutes. I'm not going to read this fast.
That's right.
Yes, that's right. Well put. Madam Mayor and Salem City Council, again, my name is Richard Foote. I'm a mobile food unit owner, a specialty baker supplier to food trucks and restaurants, and most recently owner of what is believed to be the smallest cafe brick and mortar in the city of Salem at 125 square feet, thanks to our friends in the city department who got our licenses through. But tonight I'm speaking as a representative of the Salem Food Truck Association. We, along with our customers, neighbors, fans, and business supporters, are requesting the city update and reform the regulations that stifle this important and growing segment of food service. We are seeking fair and reasonable access to operating areas and customers. We have collected over 350 signatures on our recent petition drive. 298 are being submitted tonight and just were, along with 2 pages of comments, which I will highlight as time permits. We want 4 things primarily changed. These will spin off some other things. It's not as simple as just these 4 things, of course. Number 1, allow trucks to vend on public land and right-of-ways with due consideration for traffic safety and common sense. Remove the 500-foot and the 250-foot between truck rules, cart distance rules. Eliminate the 6-month time limit for trucks and carts on private property, and allow mobile units to operate longer than 2 hours. If I can just make a point, in Min and Carmen's situation, what's happened is their method of doing business intersects multiple aspects of the code. If they want to park somewhere, now all of a sudden they're a mobile food unit. If they want to move around, they're under this different thing. So it really makes it difficult to make a living and raise their family, which they are doing solely from their truck, by the by. Okay. We believe that by burdening operators with undue regulation, the city has weakened its ability to create economic growth. Like an army, a city travels on its stomach. Retail food availability is a key factor in business relocation, tourism, and foot traffic in the downtown core. Without a doubt, street food is a key ingredient in a thriving modern food scene. By lowering the barrier of startup costs for new chefs, Salem will cultivate culinary diversity and become famous for the amazing ways that our chefs can innovate with local products. As they grow and change and thrive, they will energize neighborhoods, move into retail spaces, create significant amounts of momentum towards becoming a food destination. So with that, a couple of things. I have a few comments from some people who have commented, and these are in the comments available. One of them that I had to look this up. It said, adding food diversity and character to the city is a BGO. Okay, UrbanDictionary.com says that means a blazing glimpse of the obvious. So it's like a no-brainer to them. There's another couple that they...
I am sorry, your time
That's
is
okay.
up.
They are available for perusal.
Excellent. All right, are there questions? Councillor Dickey and then Councillor Nanki.
Thank you, Mayor. Thanks, Richard, for coming down. I did have one question for you. So I know you have a pretty large association of food truck owners. Are any of those, do they also own maybe like a brick and mortar restaurant and then they sell their food out of their food truck as well? Are you aware of that?
Well, there are a couple of people, for example, Adams Ribs, who has a mobile operation for catering. There are some outside the city that do that. I actually do that. I now have a brick and mortar, and I also operate a mobile vehicle in 2 different venues. Right now, I think I'm the only one, but it could be wrong. We just have about a dozen members that we're aware of.
Thanks.
Councillor Nanki?
Bigger, and maybe a dozen bricks.
Yes.
The size.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Big brick. What was the name of your association again?
It's the Salem Food Truck Association. It's not a recognized anything.
Okay.
It's just, we all got together at the last meeting in December when this came up before you folks. foodtrucksalem.com. We're on Facebook. We have 350 followers. 150 people follow our Twitter feed. And we have a lot of customers.
Excellent. Thank you.
All right, any further questions? Councillor Benars.
I want to address a little bit about the 6-month rule. You have quite a few carts that are staying at one location for 6 months, having to move on. The carts that are, I take it, they're all operable during those times, insured as a vehicle, tires inflated and engines that work, that kind of thing.
That's correct, sir, yes.
So it could be moved at any time, even if it stayed for longer than 6 months is the point.
Yes, right. The plan is not to create little tent cities sort of thing, although we do want to talk about pods at some point, because co-location of food trucks, anybody that's run an antique store knows that one antique store will die, but a whole row of them will do very well. And we think the same applies for food courts as well. But in terms of that, yeah. The Ella, who runs the food cart on Center Street, she has a taco truck there on Center. She's there for 6 months, on State for 6 months, moves back and forth. She loses half of her customers every time she moves 4 blocks. And that economic challenge for somebody in this kind of shoestring operation is very difficult.
Thank you. You addressed. Yep.
Okay, any other further questions for Mr. Foote? Thank you so much. Appreciate you coming down. All right, was there anyone else here this evening that wanted to sign up for public comment and wasn't able to do so? All right, seeing none, thank you very much to those who did. We're going to move now to the consent calendar. Councillor Bennett, would you like to introduce the consent calendar?
Yes, Madam Mayor. I move the consent calendar with the following polls. 3.2A by Tesler, 3.2B by Tesler, 3.3F by Nanke. Note that Nanke votes no on 3.3G. And Bennett, 3.3I. Anybody else?
All right. Is that just about every one of the items?
No, there's a
no, not by a
whole
long shot.
host that we went by as a consent calendar.
Okay, all right. It has been moved by Councillor Bennett, and was there a second?
Yes.
All right, seconded by Councillor Tesler to approve the consent calendar with the following polls: 3.2A, 3.2B, 3.3F, 3.3G, and 3.3I.
Madam Mayor, 3.3G is just to note Nanke is voting no.
Oh, all right, not an actual poll.
No.
All right. Thank you for that notation. And is there discussion on the motion? All right, all those in favor of the motion to present the consent calendar signify by saying yay. Yes. Where did that come from? I don't know.
Councillor Bennett, 3.3J was the also going to be pulled. Was the late addition for the councillor appointment.
So was I.
Aye.
Aye. Yay.
I'm showing 3.3I
I
as
had a
the-
different notation. I apologize.
Okay. Good.
Okay. Some evenings start like this, but they get better.
Yeah.
All right. The following polls will be 3.2A, 3.2B, 3.3F, 3.3I, and 3.3.
That's it.
Okay, and not J. All right. All right. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say nay. Motion carries. Thank you very much. All right, we're going to open public hearings. Would the recorder please introduce the first public hearing?
Yes, the City Council will now hold a public hearing to receive testimony on the Housing and Community Development 2014-2015 one-year action plan, which is required for the City of Salem and the Salem-Kaiser Consortium to receive funds from the Department of Housing and Urban Development.
All right, I see that no one signed up for this, but we have a staff report.
We do, but we do have someone that did
sign up.
Staff presentations first.
Yeah, we'll do the staff presentation first. I was just checking to see, but we don't have anyone signed up. All right, okay. Please proceed.
All right, thank you. Good evening, Madam Mayor, Council. I'm Rena Peck, Federal Programs Manager for Urban Development. The purpose of tonight's public hearing is to discuss the 2014-2015 Annual Action Plan, which is an implementation strategy. The annual plan represents a comprehensive approach to addressing homelessness, economic development, affordable housing, and neighborhood stabilization during the period beginning July 1, 2014 and ending June 30th, 2015. The annual plan guides the application of federal community development block grant and home investment partnership resources to implement the specific priorities and objectives identified in the city's 2009-2014 Community Development Consolidated Plan. 3 plans guide the creation of the annual plan and help the Housing and Urban Development Advisory Committee and the Social Services Advisory Committee propose funding allocations. These 3 plans are complementary, and as it relates to addressing the broad spectrum of economic, housing, and social service needs of low-income and at-risk populations. The 5-year consolidated plan sets forth federal funding priorities as a condition of receiving CDBG and home funding through HUD entitlement formulas. The 10-year plan establishes goals, identifies strategies, and identifies partnerships to effectively reduce homelessness. The Continuum of Care plan guides the use of McKinney-Vento federal funding for emergency and transitional housing with supportive services. As congressional budgets continue to be reduced, staff is uncertain what each year's allocation will be. The 2014-2015 program year will see a 2% reduction in CDBG and a 7% increase in home from previous years. Amounts available to award include entitlement and project cost savings from previous years. It also includes program income that the city receives from prior loans and those payments. Every year in November, the application cycle begins and organizations are encouraged to apply. Once the applications are received, the Housing and Urban Development Advisory Committee and the Social Services Advisory Committee review the applications and their alignments with goals and objectives. The application cycle has closed. The Housing and Urban Development Advisory Committee and the Social Services Advisory Board and the Urban Development Director are recommending the proposed projects outlined in the annual plan be approved at this public hearing. As you can see, the city was oversubscribed in CDBG, and home did not receive as many requests as in past years. The unallocated portion of home funds has been set aside for potential affordable housing projects within the 14-15 program year. The annual plan proposed projects range in funding of small businesses through economic education, providing jobs to individuals with developmental disabilities, direct services to low to moderate income families and individuals, and providing decent, safe housing. The projects funded this year include Salem Housing Authority Parkway receives $500,000 in CDBG funding, and that is to complete extensive repairs to the exterior and interior of 124 multifamily housing units. Garden Services is receiving $150,460 and an additional $52,810 for project costs, and that is for the acquisition and installation of a new conveyor belt for separating recycled materials, and that creates about 34 new jobs. Merit is a microenterprise program. They're going to receive about $95,000. And Interface Microenterprise is another microenterprise training and development program, and they'll be receiving $63,400. And both organizations fund microenterprise development, training, and one-on-one consultation to people interested in starting their own business. Social service programs will also be provided through CDBG. One is Mid-Valley Women's Crisis Service. They'll be receiving about $90,000 for case management for victims of domestic and sexual violence. Congregations Helping People, they'll be receiving about $53,000 for security deposit and emergency rental assistance to those at risk of homelessness. Salem Interfaith Hospitality Network will be receiving about $56,000 for case management in the CDBG program, and they'll also be receiving $161,670 through the home program for direct tenant rental assistance. Women at the Well, they'll be receiving about $19,000 for case management for homeless single women. Under the home program, Catholic Community Services, they'll be receiving funding for the construction of 8 new affordable housing units. Their total project is $574,000. $30,000 will be used for project costs in addition to that. Catholic Community Services, they'll also be receiving $30,000 for community housing development organizations' operating costs. The Salem Housing Authority will be receiving an additional $60,000 for direct security deposit assistance. United Methodist Church, their Wilson House and Jason Lee Manor will be receiving $400,000 with an additional $44,010 for project costs. That will be for a major rehabilitation of their current facility on Center Street. And Oregon Health Authority, they'll be receiving about $79,000 for dental rental assistance for individuals diagnosed with HIV or AIDS. And then we have a small set aside of about $110,000 in the home program that will be keeping for possible multifamily housing rehabilitation needs that come up within the next year. If those funds aren't used, they'll be rolled over into the 15-16 program year. The proposed projects will provide various types of assistance, as we just mentioned, to approximately 2,446 individuals and families within Salem and Kaiser. These projects assist low and moderate citizens with economic, social, and housing needs. General fund and social service priorities. Though general fund is not a part of the annual plan, we do use staff and the Social Service Advisory Board do manage those funds. The city has provided in the past some funding for various social service programs. The board reviews, the Social Service Advisory Board reviews all funding requests as they do with the additional CDBG money. Social Service Advisory Board is recommending to council, though it is not, like I said, a part of the annual plan, that these various programs be funded. Social service funding provides safety net emergency services for homeless and those at risk of homelessness. The programs proposed to be funded by the City of Salem's general fund are mentioned in the plan and leveraged against the CDBG dollars. The Social Service Advisory Board has made recommendations based on these priorities. Some of those projects that will be receiving general fund is St. Francis Shelter, Marion Polk Food Share, Crisis Hotline, Host Youth Homeless Shelter, Congregations Helping People, and Home Day Center. These programs will provide a majority of services to individuals who are homeless or at risk of homelessness. Approximately 80,000 residents are expected to be served through these programs. Prior to the public hearing, a comment period notice was published to inform citizens of Salem and Kaiser that the city is soliciting comments on the content of the plan. As of today, the city received 1 comment, and that comment has been included in the staff report and the city's response to that comment as well. That comment and the response will be included in the proposed final publication of the 2014-2015 annual plan. Staff recommends City Council adopt the 2014-2015 Annual Action Plan and approve submission of the plan to HUD. And that concludes the public hearing. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. And we do have a person who signed up. Tim Roca is here to speak. Welcome. Just state your address, and you have 3 minutes. At the end of 2 minutes, the amber light comes on, and at the end of 3 minutes, the red light. Welcome.
Thank you. Madam Mayor, members of the City Council, thank you for the opportunity to speak tonight. I'm speaking on behalf of the plan that was just presented to you. Included in that plan is approximately $150,000 to help Garden Services. Excuse me, I forgot to state my address. I'm Tim Rochek. I'm the CEO of Garden Services, and we have 3 branches here in Salem. Included in the plan is approximately $150,000 to help us modernize and improve our facility and processing equipment to process recyclables. The plan is under the economic development portion. This modernization project will allow us to increase employment to approximately 34 individuals and will secure employment for the current 160 employees who are working in that facility. This $150,000 actually completes the funding that allows us to actually build this improvement. Garton is contributing the property and the existing equipment, and with these funds we are leveraging nearly $2 million of private and other governmental funding, primarily another grant from the Economic Development Administration. I just wanted to illustrate, we're really grateful, and this will do a lot of good. It'll allow us to process mixed residential recycling. Our facility was originally set up when material was source separated. The curbside collection today requires much more sophisticated processing, and this will improve our equipment and allow us to do that efficiently, increase our volume, and hence the employment increases. I wanted to share a quick story that just came across my desk that will illustrate what this does for our community of folks with disabilities. This was sent to me by a citizen who heard a story from a purchaser who works for the state, who is a customer of Garton's. He overheard a Garton employee talking with a fellow bus rider on the bus about how delighted he was to have just finished a certification at Garton, which entitled him to a 50-cent per hour raise. He then went on to explain how this raise is enabling him to live independently from his parents, and he is now pursuing adopting a puppy of his own. This purchaser was a big bear of a man. It was reported to me that he was wiping a tear from his eye when he said, "I really will support Garton that much more after having heard this story." We really appreciate your support. These jobs are very important to people with disabilities and our community. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Roca. Are there questions or comments from councilors? Councilor Dickey.
Thank you, Mayor. I just wanted to compliment you on your facilities. I had the opportunity to tour actually your Hawthorne facility and your Northeast Salem facility recently, and going through the Northeast Salem facility where recycling is going on. If you all haven't had a chance to see it for yourself, it is really incredible. And you had so many people just working so hard in there. And I mean, it will change your perspective on how you recycle things, and it will just open up your eyes to a whole world. And a whole bunch of people who are being employed who would not otherwise be employed if your facility didn't exist. So I just want to thank you for that, what you do for your employees and also what you do for our community. It is really incredible the things that they're recycling now and what they're able to do there. So just thank you so much for that.
Thank you, Councilor Dickey.
Yeah, I'd just like to add my thanks to Garton Services and to you and to the staff there, because you truly are changing lives every day, not just the lives of people with disabilities that you serve, but certainly out in our community. The more that we can do in waste recovery, the more that we can do in our communities to become greener and more progressive along those lines and reduce the amount of garbage that we have, the better for Salem, better for everyone. So thank you so much for the work that you're doing.
Thank you very much, Madam Mayor. And if I may just return a compliment to the city staff. We have worked with lots of different foundations and other agencies, in particular the federal agencies, and your folks are a whole lot easier to work with than they are.
Well, that's always nice to hear. Yay, thank you. Appreciate that so much. All right. Okay, do we have any questions of staff? Yes, Councilor Nanke and then Councilor Bednarz.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Question in regards to, we had a conference center report earlier tonight, and it mentioned nothing that I thought I heard in the Budget Committee last week, that we will be retiring the, I think it's the 108 loan.
I can't speak to the amortization of that loan, but I do know that any CDBG program income that we receive goes to that repayment. I'm sure that maybe...
It was more, where is the real status on that, and what does it do if that in fact is the case that it's done now? What other funds do we actually have available to do stuff with?
Councilor Nanke, Doug Rucks, Assistant Director, Urban Development. The 108 loan will actually be paid off in about 2022.
Oh, I thought I heard
it's
somebody
the
say
urban
that it was
renewal.
done.
The urban renewal side, we have.
Well, I know the gain loss was, but
The gain loss has reached its $4 million, and we have several steps that are in place. First is that we have urban renewal that will be retired in 2018.
Right.
But then we have the 108 loan, which is in 2022.
Okay, so
And
we're
sometimes
still
those numbers get
8 years away. Okay.
mixed back and forth.
I think it was probably the 2018 number that we talked about.
Yeah, I just
Yeah.
could have sworn I heard someone say that that piece was finally gone away. I knew we'd been closing up on the gain loss reserve, and it was a good thing it was going away, but I was actually going to ask in the urban renewal meeting, why didn't we mention, the 108 loan in that report as well?
We
But
still have a few more
I know why
years.
now.
Yes. Yeah.
All right, Councilor Benars?
If I may, Madam Mayor, I have a couple questions short here. First off, you mentioned a letter that was tendered at some point along the way, public comment. It's not within the staff report, at least that I received.
I think it's summarized in the staff report. It was
Okay,
an
so the
email
letter's
that
there.
we had received, and basically the comment was from Terry Frazier at the Housing Authority, and he said he looked at the plan, and the plan was consistent with the Housing Authority's plan.
Okay, now the second question, I have a little more down into the weeds here. I'm looking at your, there's a matrix in here on page 2, and it talks about the different goals, how much money is going towards each of the 3 goals that you have listed. And it shows administration of $340,000. Is that's administration, is that charges that the city is doing for the administration of the fee, or are you talking about the administration of each of those sub people that are they're agencies that are getting the money?
So there's a couple of different things. So both programs, CDBG and Home, does allow us to charge staff time to the grant, the federal grant, for implementation of that grant, which includes monitoring of projects throughout the year. It includes reviewing applications. And then construction projects, we charge some of our time to the actual management of those construction projects. So when you're looking at the plan and it talks about $300,000 worth of administrative costs, that's what the federal government allows us to charge to the grant program.
My concern is that every dollar that we can goes towards those programs rather than towards administration.
They do.
I did my math on this, and it's about 11% administration fee. I know for a fact that Marion Polk Food Share prides itself on having less than 7% of the dollars that are donated go towards administration, and everything else goes to the public. So I guess what I'm suggesting is going back and taking a look at administration to make sure that we're not doing something with or feeding an administration that doesn't need to be there when we have all these programs that really do need those funds.
Okay.
It seems excessive to me.
Other comments or questions by councilors? All right, I will close the public hearing. Councilor Bennett, will you please make a motion?
Yes, I will, Madam Mayor. I move adoption of the 2014-15 Housing and Community Development Annual Action Plan and direct staff to submit the plan to the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development prior to May 15, 2014.
Second.
All right, it's been moved by Councilor Bennett and seconded by Councilor Clem, was it? Thank you. To adopt the Housing and Community Development Annual Action Plan. Is there discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed say nay. Motion carries. Thank you very much. Our second public hearing, it has to do with the adoption of preliminary capital improvement plan. Would the recorder please introduce that item?
Yes, the City Council will now hold a public hearing to receive public testimony on the proposed projects and financing measures regarding adoption of the preliminary capital improvement plan for fiscal years 2014 to 2015 through 2018 to 2019.
All right, and we have a staff report. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you, Mayor Peterson. I'm David Lacey from the Administrative Services Department, and I'm here tonight to present the preliminary capital improvement plan for fiscal years 2014-15 through 2018-2019. The capital improvement plan is a citywide effort, and I want to thank all of the department directors, engineers, analysts, and staff who provided all the project details contained in this plan. A capital improvement plan, or CIP, is a 5-year plan for capital spending. Like a budget, the CIP matches expected revenues with planned expenditures. But unlike a budget, the CIP has a multi-year timeline, which is helpful when planning large expenditures for projects that may span multiple years. The CIP is primarily a financial planning document for new projects, so current projects and carryover projects that have already appeared in prior CIP documents, projects adopted mid-year, are not included. Information on current projects can be found on the city website and on the City Council Current Projects page, and the link is noted on page 7 of the CIP document. And details can also be found in the 2014-15 proposed budget. Preparation of the CIP is governed by Council Policy C9. In addition, ORS 223-309 requires that projects financed by system development charges be part of an adopted financial plan. A CIP such as ours can fulfill this requirement. CIP projects are identified in many ways, including assessment of current infrastructure needs and repairs, expansion of existing infrastructure, and citizen involvement in identifying needs within the community. While many projects have been approved by council and completed through the CIP planning process, I'd like to show a few pictures of 3 recently completed or soon-to-be completed projects that have moved through the process. Here's a picture of the 2.2 million gallon Mill Creek Reservoir. Once it's completed, it will meet the water system development needs of the Mill Creek Corporate Center, as well as other uses in southeast Salem area. Here's an aerial photo of the improvements to Almsville Highway. And a project that all of us at the Civic Center have had an opportunity to watch, the Commercial Street Bridge. So I'll now move on to the forward-looking projects and the details of the preliminary CIP. The CIP consists of capital projects that are expected to cost $107.7 million over 5 years. This slide displays the CIP expenditures by funding source for the 5-year CIP. The largest funding source is utility rates revenue, which represents 40% of the CIP. The next chart provides another way to look at the CIP expenditures by their 4 project groups: community facilities, municipal facilities, transportation, and utilities. The utilities projects represent 53.5% of the CIP, or $57.6 million. Transportation projects represent 20.4% of the CIP, or $22 million. And municipal facilities projects represent 15.7% of the CIP, or about $17 million. And then the community facilities projects represent about 10% of the CIP at $11.2 million. The next few slides just break out the categories within each of the groups. So under community facilities, you see historic structures, library, and parks. Under municipal facilities, you have the airport, information technology, parking structures, police, and radio communications. Transportation contains 1 category, streets. And finally, the utilities group. This group contains projects related to stormwater, wastewater, water, and also projects common to all the utilities. Specific details for all projects can be found in the preliminary CIP document attached to the staff report, as well as the City of Salem website. The link can be found by selecting Departments, Finance, and then CIP. In addition to the preliminary CIP document, the website contains supplemental information to help identify individual projects. The GIS team, which includes personnel from Information Technology and Public Works, has developed and updated an interactive CIP project map that helps give a visual representation of the adopted projects by type and location. This map is designed to be accessed by computer as well as mobile devices. Users can click on a project icon and the project details will appear in a pop-up box. So this concludes the staff presentation for the preliminary CIP, and representatives from city departments are available to answer any questions after public testimony.
Thank you very much. Do we have anyone signed up? No. All right. Then I'm going to move to questions by counselors of staff. Do we have counselor questions? Counselor Clausen and then Counselor Nanke. And
Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Bednarz.
I'm glad that this is easily accessible on the website, and I hope that people take a second to look at this. This is one of our big budget expenditures in planning. Do we have any plans to get out to any community organizations to talk about this? I don't even know who necessarily is interested. There's probably a select few that are.
Yeah, I know in the past they actually did go out and do neighborhood presentations. How we've done that recently is we've just made the announcements that the public hearing's coming up and then been open to receive any commentary like that. I think we did receive one letter from the Morningside location, but that's the only commentary we've got on that. But that could be something we can do in the future.
Okay, how about going out to, I think some of the key people that'd be interested are home builders, development community, maybe the Chamber of Commerce, some of those. Do we go out to those, or do we just kind of wait till they look at it and come with questions?
We haven't proactively gone out there, no.
Okay, just curious.
Councilor Nanke and then Councilor Bednarz.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. And I talked with Director Fernandez earlier today, but Fairview Community Park and funding, Morningside Neighborhoods requesting a bookmark in the current, and then Parks Improvement funding for 2015. We aren't even 100% locked in that something's going to happen at that location, correct?
Peter Fernandez, Public Works Director. Yeah, I'm happy to report that this is one project where the community is way out in front of the City Council and, plugging away at helping us with this proposal. This is an idea to acquire 38 acres at the sustainable Fairview area for a community park. We have asked the owners of Sustainable Fairview to visit with Morningside Neighborhood, among others, to see what the reaction of the community is. They obviously see it very favorably. At some point soon, we will come to the council to bring you up to date on what the possibilities are, get direction from you whether to proceed or not proceed, and then that will be an indication to the owners of Sustainable Fairview that they need to proceed to amend their plan, and then we would purchase the property. So all we've done at this point, at our request, Sustainable Fairview Associates has gone out and requested some input from Morningside, and that's what you're seeing is their obviously strong support for proceeding with something like this.
Thanks. Yeah, and I was at one neighborhood association meeting where Keith Heaver actually came in and talked about this and talked a little about funding, and maybe there's funding and maybe there's enough, but they were running off then and that's the result of this email is that subcommittee that's looking at some of the things that are happening there. Other than that, I'm staying the heck away from it now that, there's a potential for anything to happen with land use.
Yeah, it would be very premature to put it on the CIP at this point. We appreciate Morningside Neighborhood Association's enthusiasm for the project. The council now knows that the neighborhood association is enthusiastic about it, but we're several steps away from, getting to that point.
Well, and the other thing is, just a couple of weeks ago, I moved that the Hillficker Park be moved up in the master plan process. So we'll let them sort that one out as it comes up, huh?
All right. Councilor Bednarz.
I was wondering if you could discuss a little bit of the 20.4% of this full $107 million will be going towards transportation. I've been told many times that we're not doing anything to our streets other than filling potholes. So is this improving, I'm going to say this and it doesn't make sense, but bus service, or is this improving street coverage? Or the public doesn't understand that the City Council is not the transit district, but where is this money going to relative to transportation?
Sure, I'll take it. These are all capital projects, so when we talk about the needs for maintenance dollars, we are very short on maintenance money, maintenance and operation money. The bulk of the projects listed in the CIP are either, that $20 million is the remainder of the Streets and Bridges bond, that projects that still, the savings projects and the additional projects that are coming, some SDC funded projects and the like. So that's what that is. So the capital improvements program never has any maintenance money associated with it. It is strictly what its title implies. These are capital projects typically funded by bond measure, systems development charges, or grants.
So that's the source of the $107 million.
Right.
And this is, so it's not going to go, is it going to bridge replacement? Is that what I'm kind of hearing?
I'd have to look at if there is a bridge replacement project, it would be in there, that's it. But again, it would be funded either by the bond or by federal monies coming forward, but not by any kind of maintenance dollars.
Okay, thank you.
If I may, too, page 41 of the CIP gives you a little bit more of a breakdown of what those funding sources are. So we have some projects that are developer funded, other agencies about 8.2 million of that. SCC Transportation is about 8 million, and URA funds of about 2.2 million. So that breaks out some of those project costs.
Thank you.
All right. Councillor Clem.
Yes, just as a reminder for all council members, the subcommittee looked at how to use the remaining funds, brought that to council. Council approved that. So by and large, this now CIP is sort of the umbrella adoption of decisions we've already made, but I did want to thank staff for doing, at least with regard to those funds, doing great outreach with some, or I think all of the neighborhood associations, asking them to prioritize what they thought was important, particularly where it regards to sidewalks and safety projects. And so I'm very pleased that a lot of neighborhood work is in here with regard to those funds. Also, just a point of clarification, these dollar amounts don't necessarily represent the total accurate project cost. There are still, federal funds are not reflected in some of the projects. So in this recommendation, staff recommendation for the subcommittee or the task force or the working group that's going to look at this, it's hard to understand what all is happening in terms of a project. For example, the trail from Union Street Railroad Bridge to Glen Creek, it only shows $50,000. Well, that's a $250,000 project. So just because you see it here, that doesn't necessarily mean that that's the total amount or the total fund source for all those funds. It's project 61080.
Yeah, and it's just kind of the trouble sometimes of trying to reconcile several different documents, since this isn't have a lot of carryover funds that are coming from year to year. This is trying to be a planning document from that 5-year period, so it often does not reflect the full project cost.
Okay. Are there other questions from council? All right, seeing none. Do we have anyone signed up? No. All right. We'll close the public hearing. Councillor Bennett, would you like to make a motion?
Yes, Madam Mayor. I move the City Council adopt the preliminary capital improvement plan for fiscal years 2014 to 15 through 2018 to 19.
Second.
It's been moved by Councillor Bennett and seconded by Councillor Clem to move the adoption of the preliminary capital improvement plan. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed say nay. Motion carries. Thank you. All right, our next public hearing is 4C, having to do with vacating a portion of public right-of-way. Would the recorder please introduce that item?
Yes, the City Council will now hold a public hearing for the purpose of considering a vacation of public right-of-way located west of Front Street and north of Pringle Creek. The criteria that are applicable to the decision are ORS 271-080 through 271.230 and SRC 255065. Failure to raise an issue in the hearing in person or by letter, or failure to provide statements or evidence sufficient to afford the decision maker and the parties an opportunity to respond to the issue precludes an appeal to the Land Use Board of Appeals on that issue. A similar failure to raise constitutional issues relating to proposed conditions of approval precludes an action for damages in circuit court. Any participant may request an opportunity to present additional evidence, arguments, or testimony regarding the application. The City Council shall grant such request by continuing the public hearing or leaving the record open for additional written evidence, arguments, or testimony.
Thank you. And there is a staff report?
Yes, thank you.
Welcome.
Good evening. My name is Judy Jonda. I'm an Associate Transportation Planner with the Public Works Department. I'd like to enter the staff report into the record. No additional public comments or written communication have been received in addition to the information provided in the staff report. The U-shaped right-of-way proposed for vacation is located between Riverfront Park and Front Street and on either side of the Burlington Northern Santa Fe Railroad tracks. It encompasses 20,800 square feet of property and is dedicated to the city in 2009 as part of a previous development proposal for the property. The red dotted line shown on this slide is the approximate location of the U-shaped right-of-way in relation to the current development plan for the site, and as you can see, it's no longer appropriate. Under the new development plan or the current development plan, access to the park parcel would be provided by an existing State Street right-of-way, or I'm sorry, by the existing entrance to Riverfront Park at State Street. Entrance to the commercial properties will be provided by an existing driveway access directly to Front Street. An additional pedestrian path will be provided from Commercial Street all the way to Riverfront Park. On March 24th, the City Council adopted a resolution initiating the vacation process. All of the utilities and public agencies have been notified. Portland General Electric and Northwest Natural Gas have utilities located within the area to be vacated. However, an existing easement that was created by a previous right-of-way vacations in 1964 and 1982 preserve the utility company's rights. And these utility easements will not be affected by this vacation. The city also has abandoned water and sewer lines within the area proposed for vacation, but these are no longer needed by the city as well. Public notice has been provided as required by Oregon Revised Statute and Salem Revised Code. Salem Revised Code requires that 8 criteria, they're listed as A through H on the slide, be met before vacating the public right-of-way. Staff has reviewed the proposed vacation and concluded that it meets all of the 8 criteria that has been established by the Salem Revised Code. The proposed vacation will not affect the provision of public utilities, services, or facilities to the area, and it will not degrade the transportation services or accessibility or connectivity to the area. Additionally, the vacation furthers the public interest by releasing unneeded public property. It's therefore recommended that the City Council approve the proposed right-of-way vacation.
Okay, thank you very much. And we have anyone signed up? No, we don't have anyone signed up. Was there anyone here this evening that wanted to testify? All right, we'll move to questions by councilors. Councilor Clem?
Yes, I wish to declare potential conflict of interest due to employment, and I will recuse myself from participating in this public hearing.
Thank you very much. Other comments or questions by councilors? Seeing none, I will close the public hearing. Councilor Bennett?
Yes,
do you have a motion?
Yes, I do, Madam Mayor. I move the staff recommendation.
Second?
It's been moved by Councilor Bennett and seconded by Councilor Benars to move the staff recommendation regarding the vacation of the portion of the public right-of-way. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed say nay. Motion carries unanimously. Thank you. And our last public hearing is item 4D, Council Review of Conditional Use. Would the recorder please introduce the hearing?
Yes, the City Council will now hold a public hearing to receive testimony on council review of conditional use case number 1401. This will be a new hearing and will result in a decision that supersedes that rendered by the hearings officer. Testimony, arguments, and evidence must be directed toward applicable criteria found in Salem Revised Code 240005D. Testimony may also address any other criteria a person believes applies to the decision. The record of the hearings officer action with respect to this request is part of the record before council. Failure to raise an issue in the hearing in person or by letter, or failure to provide statements or evidence sufficient to afford the decision maker and the parties an opportunity to respond to the issue precludes an appeal to the Land Use Board of Appeals on that issue. A similar failure to raise constitutional issues relating to proposed conditions of approval precludes an action for damages in circuit court.
Thank you very much. And we have a staff report, I believe. Welcome.
Thank you. Good evening, Mayor and members of council. My name is Aaron Panko, Associate Planner with the Planning Division. We are here tonight to discuss an application for a conditional use permit for property located at 4675 Portland Road Northeast. At this time, I'd like to enter into the record the staff report, including its attachments. The hearings officer recently approved an application to allow a vehicle sales use within an existing multi-tenant complex. The case history begins on October 10th, 2013, when the city was informed of a vehicle sales lot that began operating and storing junk vehicles on the subject property. The applicant was instructed to remove the junk vehicles from the site and to contact the Planning Division to discuss the zoning requirements. Shortly after, a conditional use permit was received on October 22nd, 2013. The application was deemed complete for processing on January 24th, and a hearing was held on February 26th. The 120-day state-mandated decision date for this case is May 24th. The applicant is requesting a conditional use permit to allow a vehicle sales use in an existing shopping center. If affirmed, the vehicle display area and storage area would be limited to the 40 spaces identified on the site plan. In addition, the applicant will be using a space within the existing building for detailing and minor vehicle repairs. This is a vicinity map of the subject property. The property is located on Portland Road, north of I-5, and is the site of the former Kmart. Portland Road is designated as a major arterial and abuts the property to the east. Astoria Street Northeast is designated as a collector street, which abuts to the west. Their property abuts the city limits boundary. The gray area on the map represents property that is outside city limits. The subject property is zoned retail commercial, and the comprehensive plan designation for the property is commercial. Adjacent uses to the east and west are also zoned retail commercial. Abutting property to the north and property on the opposite side of Portland Road is outside city limits and under the jurisdiction of Marion County. This is an aerial photo of the existing shopping center. There are approximately 616 parking spaces within the parking lot. Existing tenants include Harbor Freight, a flea market, office space, a coffee kiosk, and electrical contractor. A conditional use permit may be granted if reasonably likely adverse impacts of the use on the immediate neighborhood can be minimized through the imposition of conditions. Staff has received concerns about junk vehicles displayed for sale and stored on the property. Existing provisions in the Salem Revised Code Property Maintenance Chapter prohibit junk vehicles from being stored out of doors or in a building or structure that's not wholly enclosed. The city has three different classifications for a junk vehicle. The first is a derelict motor vehicle, which is a vehicle that doesn't have a license or has an expired license. Derelict motor vehicles may be displayed in connection with a vehicle sales use. The second is a neglected motor vehicle, which is a vehicle that is missing parts that are critical for normal operation, but otherwise appear to be intact vehicles. The photo shows a vehicle which has all the body parts intact, but if the vehicle is missing an engine, transmission, or other critical component, it could be classified as a neglected motor vehicle. Neglected motor vehicles may also be displayed in connection with a vehicle sales use. And the final category of junk vehicle is a wrecked motor vehicle. So this photo shows an example of a wrecked motor vehicle. Wrecked motor vehicles may not be displayed for sale outdoors and may only be stored within a wholly enclosed building or structure on the property. Compliance Services does have an active code enforcement case on the property, and it has been working with the applicant to correct the violations on the site. In addition, concerns were raised about accessibility of customers driving through the shared parking lot. The hearings officer decision includes a condition of approval that requires drive aisles to be kept free of vehicles and other obstructions associated with the vehicle sales use. The final criterion is that for approval is that the proposed use will be reasonably compatible with and have minimal impact on the livability or appropriate development of surrounding property. The most recent parking analysis for the property determined that a minimum of 320 spaces are required for the uses within the shopping center, and a maximum of 582 spaces are allowed. meaning that the existing 616 spaces exceeds the maximum that's allowed by code. The proposed use of these 40 spaces in an underutilized parking area is reasonably compatible with the surrounding businesses and area. Comments were received from the Northgate Neighborhood Association, surrounding businesses and property owners objecting to the proposed use. The primary objections received are junk vehicles stored on the property, the concern that drive aisles may be blocked through the parking lot, the questionable character of the applicant, and an increase in the amount of crime in the area. The issues that are relating to the character of the applicant are not relevant to the approval criteria, and the other issues relating to the increased crime, junk vehicles, and access through the parking lot can be addressed using the city's nuisance and criminal ordinances. Staff recommends that council affirm the hearings officer decision. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. And we have someone signed up for public testimony. All right. You have two people signed up, Dwayne Mueller and Valerie Cook. So we'll start with Mr. Mueller. Mueller, sorry.
My full name is Alden Dwan Mueller. I'm speaking tonight I'm the land use chair for the Northgate Neighborhood Association, as you all well know.
Thank you. So you're representing the Neighborhood Association this evening?
I could and tell you what we had at the last meeting, and then but I want to also speak just as a regular citizen of.
You would have 5 minutes as the Neighborhood Association representative.
I don't need that
so.
much.
All right.
The applicant did attend our meeting. Some new information was revealed during that meeting. The association could not reach a consensus, so we didn't. And that's the only thing I can share is, as the Neighborhood Association, we came to no consensus as to in this decision.
Okay.
Okay?
All right. Thank you. Are there any questions by councilors? Councilor Benars?
How many people were in attendance at that meeting? How many people were in attendance?
15.
Okay.
20, maybe 20.
Okay, thanks.
I didn't, if I'd known I needed the count, I would have brought the.
No,
It's okay.
The intent was to figure out if there was just 2 or 3 people there and couldn't reach a consensus. You have a large group, you have a better chance of at least coming to something.
We were missing a few members, but most of the core members were there.
Okay, thank you.
Are there other questions or comments? Okay, Mr. Mueller, you actually have your own 3 minutes, if you like, to further testify.
Again, my name is Alden Dwan Mueller. I live at 4305 Claxter Court Northeast, apartment number 7. Those of you that know me know that as a land use chair, I remain neutral on land use decisions. I don't even vote unless it's a tie when the association meets. I have received so much negative commentary and innuendo, and I'm not here to point any fingers or accuse anybody, but as a concerned neighbor, I'm opposed to this being granted, of this coming in here. Mostly because I've been lied to by the applicant. And that just raises all kind of red flags for me in a used car lot. I don't want my neighbors being lied to when they go to buy a car. I can't prove that, but that is my concern as a neighbor in this decision. Does that make sense?
Yes.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there further questions? Councilor Benars?
So I understand your concern about this particular applicant. Would you be opposed to any car lot being located in that area?
No.
As long as they abide by the rules and the laws that were set forth?
Right, and I'm not, all I'm saying is that, I'm a man of second chances. I believe everybody deserves a second chance, no matter what they've done in the past. And it's no difference to me if somebody wants to use an alias. But when I ask them about it and they blatantly lie to me, I get concerned. That's where I'm coming from. Any other questions?
Any other questions from councilors? All right, thank you. We appreciate your testimony, appreciate your service as the land use chair also. Valerie Cook.
Actually, my last name is Kuhn. First name is Valerie, and I live in Ward 5. I own a house there. My concerns, I'm in opposition to this because I have seen the wrecked vehicles that have been stored outside for months at a time. I've seen them work on cars in this supposed spot, and it's not just minor things. It's actually getting under the car, pulling drive lines, the whole 9 yards. I have not seen any cleanup. I've also seen trash, bags of actual trash outside this business that come from the business person themselves. So I'm 100% opposed to it because I own a house in this neighborhood, and I don't want my neighborhood and the value of my house to go down because of this. I'm not opposed to a legitimate car lot. Legitimate car lot have legitimate business hours. This car lot operates usually from 10 p.m. at night till 4 a.m. in the morning. That's not legitimate. And that's the only thing basically I have to say about it.
All right. Are there questions from counselors? Counselor Benars.
I'm going to ask the same question. So would you be opposed if another car dealer came into that same spot that abide by the rules and regulations of this
No, I would
community?
not. Provided they were legitimate and they actually gave their full name legally and used their full name legally. No, I wouldn't have an issue with it.
Thank you.
Other questions? All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Appreciate your testimony. Were there others in the council chambers that had wanted to testify but did not get signed up? All right. And we have questions of staff. Counselor Dickey and then Counselor Benars.
Thank you, Mayor. I just need to disclose that I've had some ex parte contact with the neighborhood association, and it was the email that is actually in your packet, so you all have that same information. It's towards the end of your packet, so I sent it to the city attorney, and he sent it on to you.
Thank you. And Counselor Benars.
So that answered one of my two questions. This is a quasi-judicial matter. Oh, okay, thank you. I always like to make that clear in here. In several of the letters that were included in the packet, there was mentioned that this particular car lot would be blocking a driveway access to other people and to the, apparently there's a coffee shop or something next door that they're using. Is there any way you could show on your map what we're talking about and what they could be blocking? Because what I saw later was, well, what I saw in your report didn't show anything being blocked.
So we'll use this slide here. There was a concern from one of the neighboring businesses that there would be vehicles or other objects blocking some of the drive aisles here. One of the conditions that the hearings officer put on the approval was that no vehicles, equipment, any other materials that are associated with this use could be placed in the drive aisles. So what we're approving is the use of 40 spaces for the display and sale of vehicles.
So I'm getting confused between driveways and drive aisles, and the aisle is in between the rows where the car is parked. Driveway is where it enters into the street, or enters and exits from
Correct,
the street.
yes.
Okay, and I got the message that it was a driveway, right, not drive aisles, but still the same thing.
Yeah.
Something's being blocked. And can you go back and show where that coffee shop is approximately?
Yeah, you can see the coffee shop is right here. There's some drive-through lanes on both sides of it. It's kind of blocked by this graphic here. There's the coffee kiosk there.
Okay, thank you.
Counselor Bennett.
Thank you. Could you point out where their business office or whatever it would be is located on that lot?
The building area would be in the corner, approximately here.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
All right. Any further questions of staff? All right. Our city attorney would like to speak.
Mr. Panko, did you know if the applicant is in the room tonight, or does he say he wasn't going to appear?
I believe he's here, yes.
And he doesn't wish to testify as far as you know?
I haven't heard.
Okay. Are there any other questions of staff? Yes.
Are you the applicant?
Did you want to testify? Yes. Oh, all right. Well, let's go back to that then. And you would have 10 minutes.
You come to the
You
podium.
come to the podium and introduce yourself and give your address. You have 10 minutes. So at the end of 9 minutes, the amber light would come on, and at the end of the 10th minute, the red light comes on.
Okay.
Welcome.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Sean Branson. My address is 4703 Portland Road Northeast, number 35, right beside the business. We came into this location approximately almost a year ago. I owned a car lot on Commercial and Ferry right on the corner. the old service station. And we got served notices there that Chuck Sides was losing his properties on foreclosure, so we started looking for other locations to move our business. We found this location, leased this location, and then after we leased it and were told by the owners that it was approved for a dealership, that it wasn't. So then we started this process after learning all this. In the meantime, we've spent a lot of money cleaning up this facility because the owners have let it go downhill. The other businesses, it seems like we've became the only spotlight of the whole business, that it's our responsibility to clean up this whole property. It's like, it's not our only responsibility. We do as much as possible. We've hauled loads and loads of garbage out. We've been trying to move as many cars into the closed locations as possible, working with everybody around us. I don't know why there's so many people that are opposing a dealership. We have a regular car lot. I mean, everything that we did is legal. We have no running business there at this time. Everybody's saying we work all these different hours and this and that. All it is a storage facility at this time. Everything is stored inside. There's no major repairs of any kind of cars going on. I mean, we pull a drive line. I mean, you change a U-joint. That's not a major job. That's a 15-minute job to put a U-joint in on a drive line. We're not changing motors. We're not changing transmissions. We just do minor repairs there. And those are on our own vehicles at this time. I mean, we rent and we lease that building for the last year, not be able to open a business. So, I mean, the last hearing that we went to, they set certain rules that we had to abide by and follow if we were granted to open a car dealership there. So, I mean, we're trying to do the best of our ability. We stopped putting money into the facility and did landscaping and stuff until we get approval, because we put so much money into it that we're like going backwards until we get approval. And it's like, not. We're just waiting to find out a decision. And if that happens, then we plan on making a lot of improvements. So I'm open for any questions.
Are there any questions by counselors? Counselor Dickey.
Thank you. Thanks for coming down and testifying. I do have a few questions for you. So we answered one, you're not currently operating. So where are your vehicles now?
Most of our vehicles are, a lot of our vehicles were sold off prior to this, and so we're just waiting to purchase vehicles. We have a lot of vehicles stored over at a body shop that deals with all our body work and paint off of Sunnyview.
So that my next question was going to be, will you do your own body work then, or will you send it to that other place?
No, that's subcontracted out.
Okay. And then, so right now, are you currently leasing the facility and just waiting to hear if you're approved to sell cars?
Yes.
Okay. And how long does that lease have?
We have a 5-year lease there right now, but I mean, it's negotiable. If this doesn't get approved, I mean, then we're gonna talk to the owners about, because we came into it knowing that it was approved location, and it wasn't. So they've had us spend all this money trying to get it approved.
So just to clarify, then the owners told you that it was approved, that you were allowed to put a car lot on, and you found out when code compliance came by or somebody came by and said you're not allowed to do that?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Counselor Benars.
If I may, just a couple questions. First off, it was mentioned in some testimony tonight that the hours of operation were a little odd. Can you tell me what days and hours you'll be open?
Our regular hours, the biggest clientele there, because of the swamp meet, it's the busiest day. So our regular hours are probably gonna be 8:30 to 6:30, because people get off work about 5:30 in the last hour. Everybody going home stopped. When I was downtown, my hours were from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. just because a lot of people get off work and come out looking for cars.
So is this 5 days a week or 7?
7 days a week.
And so are you operating after 10 o'clock at night?
No.
So is somebody there at 10 o'clock at night working on things?
Not usually. I mean, if something happens, or if my father wants me to fix something in his car or change something inside the car. My dad's been sick, so we sometimes drop off stuff storage. We had to empty his house and put everything inside the warehouse to store stuff. So, I mean, there's no operation of business going on at this time.
Okay, the second question, how do you respond to the photos and conversations about wrecked vehicles being stored there, vehicles that are inoperable, vehicles that don't have title, or at least a license on it? How do you respond to that?
Okay, the one wrecked truck that you saw, the blue one, that was dropped off by a person named Travis Nooch that was charged for theft of that vehicle. It got dropped off in the back and it was stolen from my location downtown. And he was actually charged, I think the district attorney just talked to me 2 weeks ago. They're making a plea agreement on him. As soon as that was dropped off, we hauled it down and got rid of it to the scrapyard as soon as it was dropped off out back. The other vehicles that would have no license plates and stuff, when we were downtown, none of our vehicles, you're supposed to remove the license plates by DMV codes. Otherwise, you get a fine for $500 per car because you have dealer plates. So, but when we got moved to this location, it wasn't an approved location, so now we had to redeem our dealer plates to DMV until we have an approved location. And so that's why there's no plates on the vehicles. One of the compliance officers that come by and stuff, he said get rid of all the wrecked vehicles and stuff, so we've tried to put all the wrecked vehicles inside the warehouse. And the ones that are sitting outside are all like, they're not wrecked, they're all in one piece they're just not registered cars.
Okay, the last question I have has to do directly with the abutting business that's up there, that's the coffee shop, access to the aisles, not blocking the aisles. Have you been blocking them up to this point? Is this why there's a concern?
Never, no. When we first came into the building, we had U-Haul there, some big U-Haul trucks, and it obstructed his view to his shop, so we moved him to the very back. But since then, we got rid of U-Haul, and that was his concern. He didn't want his building, any view blocked from Portland Road to people know that there's a coffee shop there. And actually, he came and gave us some posts that you put into the ground to so people would stay in their boundaries and not go anywhere to make it look neater and more professional. And so everything was going to be restriped, all the 40 parking spots, and so there's nothing obstructing any other businesses or any of the pathways to any other businesses in that location.
Okay. Thank you.
All right, are there any further questions? All right, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
We'll go back to just being certain, are there any further questions of staff? All right. And we'll close this public hearing. And Councilor Bennett, do you have a motion?
No.
Councilor Dickey.
I'm sorry, Councilor Dickey, do you have a motion?
Yes, thank you, Mayor. I move to deny the application for conditional use permit for vehicle sales use at the property because the application fails to comply with the applicable criteria, specifically SRC 240.005D, sections 2 and 3.
Second.
All right, and there's a second? All right, it's been moved by Councilor Dickey and seconded by Councilor Benars to deny the application. Is there discussion? Councilor Dickey.
Thank you. Yes, first of all, I do feel bad for the applicant if the owner had expressed that it was fine to put a car dealership on here and did not explain to him the conditional use process, and that may or may not happen. I hope that he goes back to the owner he's leasing from and does renegotiate his contract and get clarification on that. But basically, I'm moving to deny for a couple reasons. The applicants haven't demonstrated that the current and actual adverse impact created by the existing illegal use can be mitigated. If you look at the picture up there, that coffee place isn't very far from where the cars would be parked. So if you think about a car dealership where people are coming and going and, test driving cars, and then you've got people driving, and that's a very busy coffee shop, I might add. It's been there for probably close to 15 years, and so I see that as being problematic. That's actually a very busy parking lot. While it's large and there are a lot of spaces, there are people coming and going from there a lot, just because of the several businesses that are in there, as well as if you can see the business up in the right, the upper right, just outside of the yellow line there. That's also a very busy restaurant that does spill into the parking lot as well. Also, I think too, the applicants haven't demonstrated that their operation of this use is or will be compatible with or have only minimal impact on the neighborhood or surrounding property. The applicant's conduct and activity that has occurred on the property since the applicants have arrived have caused problems for both nearby businesses and the neighbors in terms of junk vehicle storage and interference with access to abutting properties. The applicant's past record of noncompliance provides little assurance that their future use of the property will comply with the development standards in the code or any conditions that council could attach to this approval. And again, unfortunately, the property owner was not forthright with expressing that there would be a process and that may or may not get approved when he was asking about a car lot. So for those reasons, I'm recommending that we deny this application.
Okay, thank you. Is there further discussion? All right, call for the question. All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. 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 Opposed, say nay. Motion carries unanimously. Thank you. All right, we will now move to special orders of business. We'll start with 5A and then we'll go back to those items that were pulled. If people want to have a couple minutes to kind of readjust the council chambers, that might be a good idea right now. We're going to call the meeting back to order, and we left off at 5A. Which is a supplemental staff report to address comments received on the policy guidelines for processing annexations. And I believe we might have a staff report. Looks that way to me.
Yes, we do. Good evening, councilors and Madam Mayor. I'm Pamela Cole in the Planning Division. I am the case manager for annexations in this election year. While annexations are subject to state and city regulations, council does have some discretion for certain policies. And so staff will be bringing 3 annexations to you this year, and we recommend 6 different policy guidelines for those annexations. These are the same policies that council has previously approved, most recently in 2011 for the 2012 elections. Staff provided a report on the April 14th agenda, and council postponed discussion until this evening. And we've also provided a supplemental report that details many of these policies in much greater detail than I'm going to discuss in my presentation. Tonight, we have 2 policies that do apply to the annexations proposed for 2014, so I just wanted to highlight those. And then you can also see the rest of the information in those reports. I did want to ask that you do make a decision on these policy guidelines tonight so that we can stay on schedule for these annexations. The first policy that applies to one of our annexations this year is to include all adjacent right-of-way in annexation territory. This makes it easier to have future annexations by making adjacent properties also contiguous to city limits. In this example, we show that right-of-way for an annexation proposed in 2010 made several properties on the west side of Hoffman Road Northeast contiguous to the city limits. And for the 2014 election, the right-of-way policy would apply to one petitioner-initiated annexation on Sweigel Road Northeast. The second policy that applies to annexations this year is to initiate annexation of all eligible enclaves. This is something that's allowed under state law. An enclave is an unincorporated area that's surrounded by the city. Prior to each general election, staff reviews all of the enclaves that still exist to determine which ones are eligible. Only 2 are eligible for city-initiated annexation, and we are going to be proposing both of those for the 2014 ballot. Several other enclaves are not eligible because more than 25% of their perimeters is made up of city right-of-way other than Interstate 5. In this example, the diagonal lines show an enclave that was created through an annexation that was approved in 2010 election. The city initiated annexation of this enclave in the 2012 election, and the voters approved it. 2 of the proposed annexations in 2014 are enclaves that were created through annexations approved by voters in 2012. None of the proposed 2014 annexations would create new enclaves. And the remaining policies that I've highlighted in yellow are that we include adjacent properties and potential enclave properties only if the owners of those properties agree to it and the petitioner for the annexation also agrees to it. We also recommend that a petitioner with a large parcel include the entire lot or parcel of record in the annexation territory. That's to avoid jurisdictional issues that would happen if part of the property is in the city and part is outside the city. We also recommend that we allow petitioners with farm use tax deferral status to retain that status until the property is developed. And we also recommend that we allow a petitioner to schedule annexation, or the city also, to schedule an annexation for a general election, even if there's a scheduled special election that occurs sooner. This is because the costs of those elections can be quite prohibitive if there are few elections or even one election on a special election. So I'd be happy to answer any questions for you.
Are there any questions by counselors? Counselor Nanke?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. In regards to enclaves that are out there, and that was one of the reasons I pulled a previous item on the agenda, is 2415 Dokes Ferry Road going out in 2014?
That would be one of the ones that's on our list.
Okay. Yep,
Yes.
thanks. Yep.
Counselor Bennett?
Thank you.
Definitely.
Just checking, this is exactly the same policy we had for last year's election, or 2 years ago, whatever the timing is?
Correct. We
How
first,
long have, oh, sorry.
Oh, I'm not sure exactly how long ago we first started bringing these to you, because I wasn't involved in that piece of the process, but we did bring them in 2011 for the 2012 election cycle.
But these are not changing at all?
No, these are the same.
Okay, thank you.
Other questions by counselors? All right, thank you. And do we have anyone signed up? Oh, there's no testimony for this item. All right. Then, Counselor Bennett, do you have a motion?
Yes, I'll move the staff recommendation.
Second.
It's been moved by Counselor Bennett, seconded by Counselor Tessler to move the staff recommendation. Is there any discussion? All right, we'll move for the question. All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, say nay. Motion carries unanimously. Thank you. We'll now go back to the pulled items. We'll start with 3.2A, which was pulled by Counselor Tessler. Do you have a motion or comment?
Thank you. I most
Yes.
assuredly do have a motion, which is
Okay.
staff recommendation. I move staff recommendation on this.
Second.
It's been moved by Counselor Tessler and seconded by Counselor Benars. Is there discussion?
Yes.
Yes. Counselor Tessler.
Okay, thank you. I was so happy to see this. I was in Anacortes last weekend, and they had these little cute murals all over Anacortes. Just these pictures of different people, different historic people. And I took pictures because I was going to come back and go, you know, this is so simple, and why don't we do this here? And here I see this, and you know, this took so long, and I'm so happy to see this happening, because when you drive around downtown and other places, there are so many places that could have really nice murals on them. You know, overpasses, buildings, you know, walls, all those things. And you know, these things they really change the area that they're in. I mean, even a dirty old overpass in Vancouver, Washington was transformed into this really cool work of art that you walked underneath. It was just, it's amazing. It's just amazing what it does. And so I'm so happy to see this, and it's public art at its finest. I mean, everyone can enjoy murals. And it just makes me very happy. That's what I wanted to say. Thank you.
Wonderful. All right. Other comments? All right. There was,
Motion second.
there was a motion by Counselor Tessler and seconded by Counselor Benars, as I remember correctly. All right, any further discussion? We'll move for the question. All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, say nay. Motion carries. Thank you. And now item 3.2B, also pulled by Councillor Tessler. Do you have a motion or comment on that?
I do. I have a motion and a comment. I'll move staff recommendation on this one.
Second.
It's been moved by Councillor Tessler and seconded by Councillor Benars to, now is there discussion? Councillor Tessler.
Yes, and I must have, Chuck must have caught me early in the morning on this one. So I just wanted to say that I was really happy to see Kaiser doing this, because this is a really interesting, appropriate thing to do with an urban growth boundary, because it allows them to add more acreage to Kaiser Rapids Park. And I don't know if a lot of people have been out to Kaiser Rapids Park, but if you canoe the Willamette River, it's part of the water trail. And we really need more of this green space along the Willamette River, because it's becoming kind of a popular thing to do now, is to take a raft or a canoe or a kayak, or in my case, the cement boat. But, you know, this is a good thing that urban growth boundaries do. And I know sometimes people get kind of heated up about when we expand them, but in this case, this is something that I think Kaiser put a lot of thought into. And I just wanted to commend Kaiser, our sister city, for doing that, and just kind of call attention that this is, in this case, it's a very good, positive thing.
Thank you. Further comments by councilors? All right, we'll move for the question. It's been moved by Councillor Tessler and seconded by Councillor Benars. All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, say nay. Motion carries. Thank you. And I would like to note that Nate Brown is here this evening from Kaiser. Would you stand up so people know who you are? I really appreciate you coming to our meeting this evening and appreciate your work on this and always your collaborative work with the City of Salem. Thank you so much.
It's a pleasure to be here.
Thank you. Great. Okay. We have another item, 3.3F, which was pulled by Councillor Nanke. Do you have a motion?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I would move staff recommendation.
Second.
It's been moved by Councillor Nanke and seconded by Councillor Benars for staff recommendation. And is there discussion, Councillor Nanke?
Yeah, just had a couple of questions in regards to what appears to be total failure of their sewer system.
Septic.
Of their septic system, like 2 weeks ago, but it requires council approval, and I know we've met several times for, you know, budget committee and had pre-meetings. What have these people been doing for 2 weeks? Have they not been allowed to be in the house because of a health hazard, or?
Councilor, I don't know the answer to that question. I apologize.
It just seemed strange that on a total failure of a system that we couldn't act a little faster. I don't, especially since if I was a county health inspector and your septic failed, it's like either you bring in a porta potty or you're not in the house. And so just concerned as far as, you know, people are, and the fact that, you know, they're an enclave, so I don't know if they could have been annexed last time around or not, then they'd have just been in, but we may want to look at how we deal with that and some of our rules of engagement, just so that we're not slowing down something.
We'll do that. We'll check what the process was so that we know if there's an improvement we could have made. Okay.
All right. So the motion, you have the motion on the floor. All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, say nay. Motion carries unanimously. And 3.3I.
Madam Mayor? Take your pick.
All right, Councillor Bennett, yes.
Thank you. Thank you, Madam Mayor. I move the City Council vote to fill the Ward 6 council vacancy with a term expiring December 31st, 2014.
Second.
All right, it's been moved by Councillor Bennett and seconded by Councillor Benars. Is there discussion?
We have the...
If I may.
Yes,
Madam Mayor,
please.
I put some rather informal handwritten ballots on your desk, so if you can, the code does require a written ballot, so if you would fill out your ballots, and I can come around and pick them up, and we'll tally the votes.
Yes.
Counselor Nanki.
I'm sorry, Counselor Nanki.
In regards to, I know on some of our previous votes, we're actually required to put our name on them as well. Is that also a requirement on?
Give it
back.
Oh,
Okay.
well, good thing it's on there.
There you go.
Mayor?
Counselor Bernard, yes.
Is there any recommendation from the Boards and Commissions Committee? Or
Yes,
that-
there is a recommendation from the Boards and Commissions Committee, actually. Would you like to
Well,
carry that recommendation to the council?
Thank you, since
Thank you.
one of the newest
I
members here,
appreciate
but
that.
I am on that committee, and one of the conversations that we have, it has been not a written policy of the Boards and Commissions Committee to recommend not appointing somebody who is currently running for office to that position. So therefore, that eliminates one of the two candidates.
Okay. All right.
You can erase that.
Oh, yeah, right.
They all stick together in different ways.
Madam Mayor?
Yes,
Yeah,
yes, Counselor Clem.
I just want to also add that, while that's not a written policy or the applicants may not have known that, we very much appreciate both applicants wanting to step up and don't want anybody believing that we have some informal policies around here. If we announce a vacancy and somebody's qualified, we're very pleased that people apply for things. So again, thanks to citizens for caring.
Absolutely, thank you. All right.
And the vote was 8-0 for Bruce Rogers.
All right, thank you very much. Then we will be announcing that Bruce Rogers is the newest member of the Salem City Council and will be serving in Ward 6. And many of you may remember Bruce Rogers from his previous service and diligent attention to the City of Salem and the Salem City Council. And I believe he will be joining our council at our next meeting, so everyone will be able to formally thank him at that time, welcome him at that time. Okay, thank you. I believe that finishes the items that were pulled. Is that correct? Yes. All right, then we move on. We have no unfinished business, and we move to information reports. I draw your attention to the information reports that are in your packet. There were several of them, and I believe we may have a motion regarding some. Councillor Dickey.
Thank you, Mayor. Yeah, I am looking at information report 7B, mobile food unit code update. Let me just make a motion. I move for staff to come back with an ordinance regarding mobile food units that identifies and addresses the barriers that they've found to the mobile food units, specifically providing us some clear definitions for the various types of mobile food units, allowing mobile food units to vend on public lands and right-of-ways, remove the 500 and 250-foot separation requirement between mobile food units, and eliminate the 6-month time limit on private property.
Second.
Anybody second?
Yeah.
It's been moved by Councillor Dickey and seconded by Councillor Nanki.
Okay.
Is that? When you're all talking, it's hard for me to guess which one. All right, Councillor Bednarz, are you the one who seconded that?
I was louder than she was.
All right. Is there discussion? Councillor Dickey.
Thank you, Mayor. So I know the staff has been working hard, taking a look at this issue, seeing what it would take to put something together. And I think just asking them to come back with an ordinance is the best way to go on this, and the best way to get something done more quickly and more efficiently with less staff time to make that happen. we may, once we see something back from the staff, we may want to fine tune it. We, certainly will want to address it. I've talked with city staff, and they've assured me that they, even in the process of writing an ordinance, they will engage stakeholders. So they will be reaching out to, interested parties, mobile food unit people, brick and mortar restaurant owners and representatives, and other people. Marion County Environmental Health, there was a question about that earlier. They actually contacted me early on. They definitely would like to have some input in the process. And they actually did indicate that removing that 6-month time limit will make their job easier, because they can find the trucks. Right now, they sort of have to look around for them, and especially because we don't have a business license or whatever. I mean, it's just hard to get the information. I mean, it's there, but that makes it a little more efficient than just trying to follow someone on Twitter and figure out where they are based on that. So, I think earlier tonight we had some comments by Sedcor. They've got some great things going. We heard about Lemonade Day. I mean, I think that's kind of like the original mobile food unit, is the lemonade stand. So, here we are sponsoring all these other mobile food activities and other business activities. And this is just one classic case of government regulation that is really inhibiting businesses. I think that we can clean this up. We can help these businesses that want to start, want to get off the ground, that are off the ground, that want to be able to thrive, and we can offer some options for brick and mortar restaurants that might help them be able to serve their customers as well. In the months since I have sent this to, since we had the motion back in December, so 3 or 4 months ago, I've had lots of positive comments. I received one negative email, and it was anonymous. I don't know who they were. I don't know where they were coming from. So, definitely I would say to the council, if you know of people that have particular interests, particular concerns, if you're comfortable either just sharing those concerns with staff or being able to connect staff with those people who have expressed those, so they can definitely engage them in the process, I think that would be a great thing to do.
All right, Councilor Bennett.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I just a couple of things on this. You had a kind of catalog of issues, and one I hope we will take up is is the gentleman's problem with the 2-hour. I really want to make sure that 2-hour gets fixed. That is so unreasonable as to kind of illustrate the problem here. And the other is that this came up in December. We're now half year later. I really hope that there will be a fast track on this, that we do not wait through the summer season to see this ordinance, that it happen very rapidly, and that we see it in a timely manner. This, from my perspective, and I'm sure there are reasons, I'm certainly not, I am kind of complaining. I think it took too long. It just, but, que sera, but let's get ahead of this one before the paper yellows on the Statesman Journal covering this story this time. I mean, it really is time to get this done.
All right. Other comments? There's a motion on the floor. All those in favor? Oh, excuse me, Councilor Tessler.
So, and I have to just join in and say I'm very happy to give you my back on this one, because to date, the only way that you could really enjoy a food cart was, this is not a bad thing, is to go to the brewery and, drink a beer at the brewery, and then these guys are outside, or another food cart that I really like is usually there. But it shouldn't have to be, I have to go at night to have a beer to enjoy a food cart. I mean, I should be able to go somewhere on my lunch hour and enjoy a food cart. I should be able to download an application on my iPhone that tells me where the pods are and who is at this pod and that kind of thing. I mean, I go to Sherwood for business, and I know that there's a tacos truck at a certain place that's always at a certain place, because they have lengua tacos that I love. And I want to say that about food carts here. I mean, I want to tell people they can go to this food cart and it's going to be there, and you go there and it's gone, or it's not open, or that kind of thing. I mean, we need that. That's part of being a vibrant city. And so let's do it. Let's just get it done. We can do this.
All right, further comments? All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. 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 Opposed, say nay. Motion carries unanimously. Thank you. I believe there's another item on, there are a couple more items on the information reports. I think that I learned earlier, City of Salem website navigation improvements. I think Councilor Bennett has a comment.
Just a comment on this. I hope that folks will take a look at the website as it's evolving. I think we're really getting going now. But there are a couple of things, features, the how do I do it? I think that's how it goes. How do I? How do I feature is really quite good. You know, so people can plug in, how do I get a permit? How do I find out how long I can have my food cart parked? You know, that kind of stuff. And it really, though, is quite a good feature, and I think it sort of indicates the kind of user-friendly direction the website's taking. And certainly, I think it's all, an awful lot of credit goes to Krishna and her shop for the tremendous work. We hope they're going to continue to lead us on to someday make this a transparent website where you can go there and get where you need to go. But it feels like you're on your way. It's really quite positive. Thank you.
All right, and the last item on the information reports has to do with the administrative services of the state of Oregon preparing for the sale and redevelopment of the Oregon State Hospital North Campus property. And I wondered if our city manager would have a few words to maybe a little explanation of where the process is.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. As the City Council knows, this is an area of great interest to the community, to the neighborhood, and I know to City Council. We've, as staff, have been communicating with state legislators about this property and the process, as well as working with DAS. And I want to say that the Department of Administrative Service has been very cooperative. I talked to Michael Jordan as recently as a couple of days ago about this property. They're very interested in wanting the city to be involved. They realize how critical it is to us. We'll be meeting in a few weeks again and to talk about potential next step forwards for how we put everything in process as they're re-looking at instead of doing an RFP, taking another look at the process. So the mayor had earlier appointed a city council group to work on the North Campus, so we'll make sure that everyone who has been involved, as well as representatives from the neighborhood associations, continue to be kept up to date and continue to be involved and to participate as we go forward.
Great, thank you very much.
Yeah.
Councilor Nanke.
I'm just curious as whether our newly appointed city councilor will be acting in said role as well, since he had a lot of history on that.
I certainly had the idea that I would talk with him about that. I think that would be an excellent idea. All right, thank you.
Madam Mayor?
All right, we're going to move on to ordinances. We have no first readings. Oh, I'm sorry.
Madam Mayor? Just,
Yes.
I'm sorry, there's
That's
item
right.
G, the SEDCOR item. And
Oh, thank you.
I just want to bring that up, the Make It in the Willamette Valley grant. I just want to underscore what it says in the report, just in our little very short piece of information. The grant includes work in Marion, Polk, and Yamhill counties. That is a new policy direction to go into Yamhill County with this organization, which is pretty heavily funded by Salem and has really only been operating in Marion, Polk. And I would like to be reassured that the SEDCOR board has reviewed this and has taken a policy position relative to either what this means in terms of somehow expanding closer to the Portland metropolitan area, which is how I see this. When you go up to McMinnville, you're just a hop, skip, and a jump from the metropolitan area, which is really not how I think their mission has been defined relative to those of us down in this metropolitan area. We've really thought of them as it just makes me uncomfortable that there may be a mission creep going on here that is beyond what we know about.
Okay.
I'd like our city manager to speak to that. I was unable to be at the last SEDCOR board meeting where this came up, but she was attending.
Yes. Some months ago, a number of organizations, SEDCOR, Job Growers, the Mid-Willamette Council of Governments, Marion County, and the Oregon Manufacturing Extension Partnership applied for a federal Made in America Challenge grant. And the purpose of that is really to get as many businesses back in the United States as we can, recruitment and retention of traded sector jobs and other economic development issues. Yamhill is a part of, I believe, the Manufacturing Extension Partnership Group. Is that correct, Doug?
Yamhill County is covered by Job Growers and OMAP and the Mid-Willamette Valley COG. And so that was the geography.
So that's how Yamhill is involved in the Made in America Challenge grant. Then there's another grant that's sort of a subset of that larger grant that's Make It in Willamette Valley grant. And we needed funds to help do the federal match for that, and Yamhill County was interested, and they're putting in $20,000 a year for the 3 years of the grant, and Portland is putting in about $5,000 each year, and Pacific Corp is putting in the same amount, and then I believe there's another funder. And so, and what they would like is supply chain analysis and some technical assistance, which will include about 15% of a half-time staff member that's a new staff position that's funded by the grant, would be responding to some economic development activities that are related to the grant. I spent quite a bit of time talking to Chad Freeman from SEDCOR today about this. He feels comfortable that there's not a competition with the types of land and buildings that we have available in Marion and Polk County. Their cities tend to be smaller. Yamhill County hasn't done economic development before. So we, the executive board and the board, feel comfortable with these two grants, but I wanted to bring it to City Council's attention. So if at the expiration of this grant that there's a thought about providing economic development activities from SEDCOR to a 3-county area, at that time I think there needs to be a policy discussion and some discussion of whether to do it or not and what that scope might be. I think going through the 3 years of the grant will provide some data and some information that would help with that decision, if that even is a consideration that the SEDCOR board wants to make, and we don't know that at this time. But I thought it was enough of a potential policy change that council should be aware of it.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Councilor Clem, did you have your hand up?
Yes, I did, Madam Mayor. Thank you very much for the explanation, Ms. Norris. The staff report indicates that 15% of the half-time position in Yamhill counties would be assigned to recruitment. The other 85% of that half-time person is involved in retention and expansion. I'm nervous about understanding that Marion and Polk counties compete with Yamhill County. I'm not sure that's appropriate, but I am concerned that the SEDCOR vision tends to be expanding, and I'm not sure that I understand that completely. Is there any way for, once this gets underway, that we can get sort of an understanding of what the latest SEDCOR area of responsibility is?
Yes, and it is only what it's ever been in terms of Marion and Polk County, except for the purpose of this grant. It's just the activities under the grant that have Yamhill County included as well. But we certainly could have Mr. Freeman come and give a report to council.
I think that's appropriate,
Okay.
just because this is so different. The Yamhill County is largely affected by the Portland commute shed.
Right.
Marion and Polk, not so. And while we struggle as 3 counties within the Mid-Willamette Valley Act, the MWACT, to allocate state monies for transportation, they are really completely unrelated in many transportation areas. And so I'm concerned, and I tend to agree with Councilor Bennett, that it isn't that I'm worried about competing with Yamhill County, but boy, we're spending a lot of money on SEDCOR, and I'm getting the sort of sense that it isn't just about, I'm not sure that we're necessarily getting our money's worth. I'd like information when it's available on what this ends up being.
We can come back with more information.
Yeah, I'd like to add the comment that there is a relationship that's Tri-County, and that's the COG, which I chair this year. And I would like to be certain that with regard to SEDCOR, that even though there's this grant to administer, that it doesn't become sort of by fiat another part of SEDCOR's regular day-to-day routine. And I know that SEDCOR quarterly reports to us. I don't know off the top of my head when that next report is coming. Does anyone remember when that comes next from SEDCOR?
Mayor, you should be receiving one probably within the next 30 days. The quarter has ended, and I know Chad is working on reports.
Right. That might be a good opportunity to ask him to include in that report a little summary of how he plans to administer this relationship into Yamhill County.
Right. And if council, if I can just call to your attention that a part of this grant is to do some of this additional work in Salem, in Marion and Polk counties that are part of Salem, and at no additional cost to the city of Salem other than what we already put into SEDCOR. So all of the areas are getting some additional benefit from the Made in America Challenge grant. It's just that the Made in Mid-Willamette grant, includes potentially a small bit of economic development in Yamhill County as well.
Councilor Clem?
From my viewpoint, if it turns out that this area and Yamhill County share relationships in supply chain management, then the money was well spent.
Right.
But if it turns out that we don't, then I will not be supportive of SEDCOR doing these kinds of creative things. So if it's about supply chain management, let the data speak, and I would hope that Mr. Freeman would provide us updates when appropriate.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Good, thank you. All right, we have ordinances. We're ready. We have no first readings. We have votes to be taken on both second readings. Would the recorder please carry forth?
Yes, so Madam Mayor, I will be reading the roll call vote immediately following the reading of the second reading.
Thank you.
Okay, ordinance bill number 214, adoption of the updated Morningside Neighborhood Plan, a component of the Salem Area Comprehensive Plan, and amending SRC 64005. Councilor Clem?
Aye.
Councilor Benars?
Aye.
Councilor Bennett?
Aye.
Councilor Tessler?
Aye.
Councilor Nenke?
Aye.
Councilor Clausen?
Aye.
Councilor Dickey?
Aye.
And Mayor Peterson.
Aye. All right, and then the second one is 8.2B.
Okay. And this is engrossed ordinance bill number 414, declaring a moratorium on medical marijuana facilities within the city of Salem and declaring an emergency. And we have Councilor Benars,
Aye.
Councilor Clem,
Aye.
Councilor Bennett,
Aye.
Councilor Tessler,
Aye.
Councilor Nenke,
Aye.
Councilor Clausen,
Aye.
Councilor Dickey,
Aye.
and Mayor Peterson.
Aye. Thank you. All right, we now move to public comment. Do we have anyone signed up this evening for public comment? No one. Is there anyone here this evening that wanted to testify at this time on the agenda? No. All right. New business, we have a mayor's item, but actually I'm going to defer to Councillor Bennett, who's going to deliver this or introduce this item.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I move the mayor appoint Salem residents, industry stakeholders, and law enforcement officials to a council subcommittee for the purpose of assisting council with the development of local regulations pertaining to the time, place, and manner of medical marijuana dispensary operations.
Second.
It's been moved by Councillor Bennett and seconded by Councillor Clem. Is there discussion?
Just briefly, Madam Mayor, we have just passed this ordinance creating a 6-month moratorium on additional dispensaries that have not received their registration form from the Oregon Health Authority, which means there are 8 operating health dispensaries, it sounds like, in Salem. And the discussion also includes in the handout on the addition who the stakeholder group is made up of: representatives from neighborhood associations, registered medical marijuana dispensaries, medical marijuana patients or cardholders, Salem Kaiser School District, Salem Area Chamber of Commerce, the medical profession, city councilors, and local law enforcement. I think it's just a real balanced-looking committee. I think it looks like the committee that can get this done by July or August. So real pleased to see this come together. Thank you, Madam Mayor, for doing this.
Well, thank you. Appreciate the support for this. All right, there's a motion on the floor. All those in favor of the motion to the appointments to the council subcommittee that's being created signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, say nay. Motion carries. Thank you very much. All right, we have no further items, and we are adjourned.